One orphan boy is caught on the street and becomes the target of cruel experiments. Some mad scientists decide to make him a living weapon. He gets the name Subject Number 17, and for years he is injected with cells from over 500 monsters until he no longer looks like something that could even be called human. Once his body is completely ruined and he looks like a failed experiment to the scientists, they decide he's only good for one thing now: to send him to the front lines as disposable meat. This experiment was started for this purpose from the very beginning anyway. When the gates of the demon realm burst open, monsters flooded the world. Only a small number awakened as hunters, and even fewer were strong enough to hold the line. Eventually, humanity realized they didn't have enough awakened, so they turned to something far darker. They started manufacturing chimera hunters, prisoners fused with monster cells and engineered in labs to fight monsters in their place. When Chimera Number 17 finally arrives in the monster realm, something unexpected happens. He wipes out monsters stronger than S-rank threats. He cuts down beasts and destroys whole hordes of monsters, even at the price of ruining his body. Hunters watching from behind can't believe it. One chimera is doing the work of an entire army. But when the work is done, the hunters abandon him on purpose. Their orders are simple: do not bring Chimera Number 17 back alive. Nothing of him remains except a single bone. However, that one bone suddenly floats into the air and begins regenerating his entire body until Chimera Number 17 respawns. Except this time, he is a handsome young man with rock-solid abs. Still in shock from his insane revival, he wonders to himself if he really is a human once again. He figures that since those monster cells are still inside him, he probably doesn't count as fully human, especially with how easily he flexes those sharp talons like he's about to launch a fashion line for apex predators. No one's shown up from the lab to drag him back, so our boy assumes he's been ditched like a stingy ex. Then he notices the lab number that used to be on his arm is now gone, and that makes him wonder if he's finally managed to cut ties with the lab for good. Since he's rocking a body hotter than hell itself, he guesses this might be the trait of an immortal-type monster, the kind that can revive up to 3 times unless their core gets wrecked. But one thing still nags at him that the scientists used to swear up and down that human and immortal monster cells couldn't fuse. Yet here he is in full alpha mode, radiating peak form that makes Johnny Bravo look like background filler. Maybe whatever side effects he had were erased, since he recalls how his head always used to feel foggy and chained by some kind of mental spell. But now he feels free as he ever can be. So he figures maybe it's time to live like an actual human again, now that his days of being the obedient mutt known as Number 17 are over. That name was just something slapped onto him at random anyway, and he tries to remember his real one, but suddenly gets pulled into a flashback, where that one old scientist referred to him as a lunatic with a rough personality, but still told him to help people from now on. The old guy asked him to dedicate his life to saving 1,000 people, but back then our boy, drowning in his edgy emo era, didn't even bother to reply. Snapping back to the present, he calls that advice pure trash and laughs off the ridiculous idea that some orphan born in the slums is supposed to help others. As he gazes at the sunset sky, abs shimmering like they've got their own lighting budget, he thinks about revenge for a moment, but lets the thought slide. After all, revenge needs a visible target, and it's been so long that his grudge feels more like a fading itch than anything real. And besides, there's no path back to the human world right now anyway. He figures he'll run into them someday and decides to shelve the whole revenge thing for now and focus on what's ahead. Staring down at his majestic body, a divine glow conveniently covering his more delicate parts, he comes to a decision that he'll try to live like a proper human being from now on, to make up for all the time that got stolen from him. As he strolls off, he realizes he should probably find something to wear and heads out on a mission for clothes, but then a weird thought pops up mid-walk that he can't even remember the last time he wore anything. He fires up his brain cells to figure out what material might work, but comes up blank. So he does what any lost barbarian would do and starts scanning the area, and soon enough something catches his eye. Up ahead, he sees a bird-like monster's corpse and guesses that maybe it died in a turf war, though there aren't any wounds to show for it. That leads him to think it must have been poison, which honestly works out great for him since it's in mint condition and is perfect for skinning. He morphs his arm into a giant blade like he's just reaching for a butter knife, and recalls from the lab that it's better to start cutting from the belly and then move to the limbs. Cheon gets to work, but the moment he slices it open, some purple gas leaks out. He instantly clocks it as poison, but doesn't seem the least bit rattled and inhales it like perfume. The only thing that annoys him is the smell, since now he's going to have to wash the hide. After a while, he finishes skinning the overgrown turkey and figures it wasn't a half-bad job for a first try. He then heads to the river to wash the hide, but when he pulls it out, he seems a bit disappointed as he notices it's gone stiff. Even though it felt soft before, so he concludes that it might just be the monster at play here. Then out of nowhere, a genius idea hits him like divine inspiration as he lays the hide flat and starts beating it up like it owes him money. Mid-punch, he wonders if this is how people normally tan hides and hopes it'll work rather than destroy all his hard work. After some good old medieval therapy, the hide turns soft again, and he holds it up proudly. Ducking behind the naked bird corpse for modesty, he begins making adjustments to the hide, but just then, a flame flickers to life on the monster's head. The bird's eyes snap open, clearly disturbed at the sight of someone ripping off its skin like wrapping paper. Cheon quickly punches some holes into the hide, slips into his makeshift gear, and ties a vine around his waist like it's runway ready. With that, he's suited up in his new look, and honestly feels pretty good about the result. He spots some leftover poison on the inside part, but decides to let it be because it is too much hassle to clean. At that exact moment, the bird monster lets out an ear-piercing screech which shocks Cheon, who genuinely thought it was dead. It thrashes around and even seems like it understands human speech, which throws Cheon off. He figures the monster must also be an immortal type, since it wasn't breathing earlier. If this had happened before, he would have roasted it without a second thought. But now, seeing it weak and vulnerable, he figures that there's no need. Cheon just smiles and says the bird got lucky, wishing it a second chance at life before turning to leave. As he walks off, he casually adds that if fate's feeling extra spicy, maybe they'll meet again. A while later, he wanders into a cave, glancing around like he's house shopping. Without warning, a massive centipede jumps out and lands right in front of him, but Cheon doesn't even blink. The creature lashes out, but he's more concerned about whether the lighting here is good enough for a home. With one clean strike, he slices off the centipede's head like he's swatting a fly and turns away, mentally crossing this cave off the list. Next, he finds himself in a snowy mountain region where a yeti lies on the ground frozen in fear, probably having seen Cheon coming like a jump scare. Apparently, our boy ran fades with the yetis but rejected this location too because food would be a nightmare to find. Then he checks out a forest, but the mushrooms reek so badly it's like someone microwaved fish in an office break room, so that one's a no-go as well. He keeps exploring, from a creepy lizard cave to a suspiciously cozy volcano, but nothing clicks. Finally, he arrives at the edge of a cliff and gazes out at a breathtaking view, and it stuns him that a place in the demon realm could look this beautiful. He decides to scout the area and casually jumps off the cliff, landing with a thud that'd break someone else's spine. Cheon notices the water is crystal clear and there's a solid fish population too. Some monster fish leap out trying to get a nibble, and he wonders if he could roast one up like a camping trip meal. Thinking deeper, he figures this is the perfect spot because it has a natural fish farm, clean air, flowers everywhere, so he makes his choice that he'll build his house here and decides to call it the Cheon Du Woon House. Meanwhile, in a distant part of the demon realm, the air sparks as a portal rips open and something shoots out, slamming into the ground with a thunderous crash. A robotic figure rises from the smoke, looks around, and wonders out loud if this really is the demon realm. He takes a moment to soak in the beauty of the place, really letting the fresh air and colorful flowers work their charm, and ends up deciding that this spot is pretty much perfect for building Cheon Du Woon's house. Starting off, he clears out the area with these vine-like extensions that sprout from his fingertips, slicing down every tree in sight with a single clean motion. And once the clearing is done, he uses those same vines to gather the fallen logs to stack them up as his primary building material. Right when things seem to be going smoothly, he notices that the ground looks a little too bumpy for his liking, so he pulls out the vines again and smooths everything out, taking care to remove any leftover tree stumps until the clearing finally looks clean enough to host a Pinterest-worthy cabin. As he sets the logs in place and plants the main pillars for the structure, he starts to notice how his body moves almost on instinct, and it gets him wondering if this is what people mean when they talk about free will, especially since it's the first time he's building something that actually belongs to him. He lays out the floor planks next and decides to try snail-type monster mucus in place of nails, since that stuff hardens into something close to rock and he figures it might even work as waterproofing, which honestly sounds like a win. When the main structure is finished, he gives it a personal touch by layering some silkworm cocoon threads over the roof, and that boosts his confidence that monsters probably won't come knocking anytime soon. It looks pretty cozy now and almost feels complete, but he pauses to think about what else a proper human house should have, then recalls how back at the lab they used to show videos of normal houses before the gates ever opened. Thinking it through, he realizes most people either had pets or grew something in their yards, and since dogs are not exactly a thing in the demon world, he figures the best option is to grow plants and make a garden. After spending some time brainstorming on what to grow, he suddenly hits a eureka moment and decides mandragoras would be perfect, especially with a snowy mountain nearby that fits their habitat. As he hikes through the cold, snow-covered terrain, he remembers that mandragoras usually grow in mana-rich peaks, and the way the snow piles around him makes him think back to when he got kidnapped and sent to the lab. Ironically enough, he kind of sees that moment as a blessing now. because after becoming a chimera, he no longer had to worry about freezing to death or starving in miserable conditions. Eventually, he senses the high mana around him and figures he must be close, and sure enough, he finally spots the mandragora roots. They look like sunfish with leafy heads and are known for being super sensitive to stress, often dying from even the tiniest change in their surroundings. He reasons that picking younger ones would be smarter since they might adapt better during the move, so he carefully selects 3, bracing himself for the screaming he knows they're famous for. But instead of the shrill cries he expects, he finds the first little guy sound asleep, snoring like a baby, and the other 2 he picks later are also peacefully snoozing and even sleep-talking. That throws him off until he remembers that the whole mandragora screaming thing was more of a lab-created nightmare, caused by humans growing them in low-mana environments filled with stress, and the screaming was mostly a reaction to being ripped out forcibly. He starts to wonder if the silence is just because they're in the demon realm now, but even so, it's weird that they're not trying to resist or run away. That is, unless they somehow recognize him as one of their own, which wouldn't be too surprising considering he's got mandragora cells mixed into his body too. He gently tucks them into his waistband, feeling relieved that they're calm and unstressed, and begins to wonder if he could politely ask them later for a few root tendrils to brew tea, or maybe even use their fruit as a snack, though he quickly remembers that the fruit turns poisonous if picked forcibly, so he makes a mental note to wait and request it nicely when the timing feels right. Right around then, he picks up on the presence of some hunters nearby, and starts to question why anyone would bother climbing a perilous snowy mountain unless absolutely necessary, but decides to check them out anyway, since he could use some gate stones from them. Meanwhile, one of the hunters is grumbling that they've been left to face danger on their own, because their so-called teammates ditched them as bait, while the other one shouts for him to focus, because a wave of monster rabbits is barreling toward them fast. The monstrous rabbits leap at them with their grotesque wide-open mouths filled with writhing tentacles and fangs, but the guy manages to summon a force field just in time to keep them from becoming dinner, though he quickly realizes the barrier won't hold for long and starts wishing he had just taken on odd jobs instead. Regretting every decision that led to this moment, he starts screaming for someone to help. Just as his shield shatters into nothing, our boy swoops in with the kind of entrance that gives off serious Superman landing energy, and both hunters freeze, stunned to see an actual person casually appear out of nowhere. The sheer pressure from his presence alone sends the snow rabbits into a panic and, without hesitation, they scatter like scared little rodents, leaving the 2 hunters standing there absolutely bewildered over how B-class monsters just ran for their lives from a half-naked man. They rush to thank him, introducing themselves as Seong-ju and Kim Tae-hoon, and ask for his name, which he shares, but neither of them has ever heard a name quite like that before. Kim Tae-hoon begins to wonder out loud if he might be some kind of reclusive hunter, judging by his rugged caveman aesthetic, while our guy flips the question and asks what they're doing wandering around in a death trap like this, since they don't exactly seem higher than D-class. The 2 explain that they're on a mission to capture a chimera alive in exchange for a rather generous bounty, which instantly grabs our boy's attention. One of them clarifies that the chimera thereafter escaped from a lab and leapt into a gate mid-chase, which actually comes as a huge relief to him since it confirms they're not tracking him down. He then asks where their gear is, wondering how they ended up roaming the wild completely empty-handed, and whether they at least have a gate stone on them. To which the guy explains that their so-called teammates bailed with all their equipment, and that the betrayal had been part of their plan from the start, something he now regrets not picking up on sooner. Hearing all of this, our boy silently locks eyes on their gate stones, and as the hunters try to explain how they're suffering from mana contamination and won't be able to survive much longer, they desperately ask if he has a way out, since humans can only survive a limited time in the demon world before needing to return and purify themselves, or they'll die from overexposure. One of them even pleads with him to help, mentioning that he has a pregnant wife waiting back home, but before they can even finish the sentence, our guy suddenly freezes as if sensing a shift in the cosmos, then takes off mid-air like the Hulk, leaving them hanging mid-monologue with the wind in their faces. Elsewhere, the robot-like chimera finds itself standing at the edge of a cliff, and the same hunters who ditched earlier try to ambush it from behind, but the creature slowly turns to face them, making it very clear that it now intends to erase them from existence. As our boy pulls up to the scene, his eyes go a little wide, wondering if he showed up too late. Up ahead, blood and gear are scattered across the ground while a flickering blue energy ball slowly fades at the edge of the cliff, which makes him think the hunters must have ditched and run. They even left all their loot behind, and judging by the mix of child and animal footprints, it looks like the test subject might have changed forms mid-fight. He recalls what the monster hunter said earlier about it being a lab experiment that jumped into the gate during its escape. It is made from liquid metal, so it can freely shift forms, but due to how rare the material is, they built it small and compact, like a child. Cheon looks down the cliff and can barely hold in a laugh, realizing this mechanical little gremlin somehow managed to wreck 5 B-rank hunters. Meanwhile, back with our battered hunter duo, Kim desperately shakes Seong-ju, telling him not to give up. But the poor guy coughs out that his whole body's contaminated now and he's done for, but Kim doesn't accept that and brings up his family. Seong-ju uses what little strength he has left to ask Kim to apologize to them for him, but Kim yells at him to hang on and insists that miracles do exist. Right then, someone steps into view, making Kim immediately tense up, but it turns out to be Cheon, casually strolling back with all their luggage. The moment the monster hunter sees him, he runs over, drops to his knees, and basically starts praying to Daddy Cheon to save them both. Our hero is confused at first, but then remembers that he told them he didn't have a gate stone. That's when Kim suddenly pulls something from his pocket, 2 10 million yen checks, and begs him to please hand them a gate stone. He keeps rambling that if they don't get out now, they're definitely going to die. Meanwhile, Cheon stares at the money and tries to imagine the total amount in his head. He knows there's no way to use it in this world, but once he hits the human world, it'll come in real handy. So with all the generosity his chaotic heart can muster, he pulls out a gate stone. Kim drops into a flawless 90-degree bow and starts thanking him over and over, swearing he'll never forget this kindness. The monster hunter runs back to his partner, yelling that they're getting out of here as fast as possible while Cheon just eyes the 2 checks, wondering where to stash them. As the 2 make their way toward the gate, Cheon asks what the current gate stone price is, and gets told it's hit 1 million yen. Ever the humble guy he is, he says he feels like he got paid way too much and puts a hand on Seong-ju's shoulder and casually says he'll give him some change instead. Kim looks confused until he realizes what Cheon is doing, that he is injecting mana directly into his partner. He instantly yells at him to stop, as transferring mana to someone else is dangerous, and if it reacts badly, both people could drop dead on the spot. Kim panics, thinking this is how it ends, but then Seong-ju suddenly jolts upright like someone just pressed reset as the demonic energy inside him gets completely purified. He grabs Kim in a tearful hug while the poor guy just stands there stunned, trying to process what just happened. Cheon turns around to leave as Seong-ju shouts that he'll never forget this favor, while Kim is still frozen in shock as he tries to figure out who Cheon even is. Our boy heads back home and pauses outside for a second, then breathes out in relief after sensing no intruders. The mandragora plants start waking up. Their leaves look droopy and sad, which instantly raises red flags, so he gets to work planting them right away. Once they're all in the soil, he wonders if they're gonna be okay, but they still look pretty miserable. Cheon stares at their depressed expressions and thinks it might be from being ripped out of their original habitat, or maybe they're just starving. Deciding to test the second theory, he injects a little of his mana into the soil. The monster plants instantly perk up like they just drank an espresso, and our boy can't help but smile at the result. While he's chatting with his leafy new roommates, he senses a presence behind him. He figures it's probably the mechanical creature those hunters were chasing, though he finds it weird that it followed him all the way here. Choosing to ignore it for now, he stashes the cash and starts sorting through the loot bags. Turns out he scored big, as he now has spare clothes, sleeping bags, cooking gear, and just then his eyes light up when he finds a packet of ramen. The last time he ate that stuff was back at the orphanage, and the nostalgia hits hard. Feeling hungry and hyped, he decides to cook it up right away. Following the recipe as best he can, he heads to the lake for water, but quickly realizes he's got no clue how to measure the right amount. Before he can think too hard, the sharp-toothed lakefish suddenly leap out like they're trying to get a bite. Remembering how people usually toss random stuff into ramen for flavor, he readies his fingers and flicks the soul out of one of the poor fish. Next up, he scavenges around for ingredients like eggs and maybe green onions. He comes across some weird capsule-shaped eggs and grabs a few, and since there's no actual green onion around, he settles for fresh tree leaves, figuring they're close enough. He then tosses everything into a pot and decides that's good enough for prep. That's when the little robot steps out, holding its stomach like it's starving as it eyes the cooking pot. Meanwhile, Cheon lights the fire and notes that the instructions don't say when to add the fish, so he just throws everything in to boil together. As the smell starts rising from the pot, the monster plants instantly start gagging in disgust, while Cheon quietly wonders if ramen always smelled like this. The smell wafts over to the mechanical creature, who starts swaying from the pure scent of food. It floats a little closer while thinking it wants to eat too, then suddenly transforms into a puppy. It remembers from the lab that humans love dogs, so he decides to take advantage of that and starts limping toward Cheon, fake whimpering to squeeze out some sympathy, but Cheon watches all this with a deadpan face, not even slightly surprised. He figures the thing's just trying to lower his guard and that the injury is clearly staged. Looking at its overly cute puppy act, he thinks it's still young and clueless, and wonders how something like that managed to escape from the lab to the demon realm on its own. Playing along, he asks if it wants a taste of the ramen, which makes the creature drool instantly. But right in front of them is a death brew of random nonsense that could take out a grown man, but still, they both decide to risk it. The moment they take a bite, the dog pauses as it tries to process the flavor, but Cheon, on the other hand, gets flashbanged into a memory of Hot Pot back at the orphanage, and smiles while claiming it tastes just like it did back then. Our hero declares it to be delicious, since the memory's strong enough to override the horror of the actual flavor. Meanwhile, the poor Mandragoras are seconds away from ascension to their next life from the toxic smell. After they finish the meal, Cheon tells the dog it's time to clean up and that it can leave now. As the mechanical pup limps away, Cheon casually points out that it was limping on the other leg earlier. The robot then hurriedly switches back to limping on the original foot while Cheon barely holds in his laugh. After finishing the dishes, he moves on to the laundry, beating the pollen-covered clothes with a stick like people used to do in the old days. Though not particularly fond of pollen, he figures he can't keep living in nothing but a leather outfit like some caveman. He tries to strike the fabric gently to avoid tearing it, but one swing ends up shattering the rock beneath and obliterating the garment along with it. After a brief moment of awkward silence, he sighs and picks up the last piece of clothing. That's when he notices the robot creature still lingering nearby, observing him from a distance. Earlier, it had disguised itself as a rock, before that as a fish while he was washing dishes, and before that as a tree while he tended to the flowers. He realizes that the creature has been following him all along, silently shifting shapes without ever approaching directly. This continues until a bee lands on its nose, causing it to freak out and yell that it hates bees. Judging by the behavior, he estimates the creature's age to be under 5. Its speech is mechanical and awkward, a trait often seen in young chimeras with artificially implanted memories. Choosing to ignore it, he clears his throat to make the creature aware of his presence and casually comments on how lovely the forsythia flowers are. Meanwhile, he finishes the laundry and mutters that the task was harder than he expected. Unfortunately, he realizes the clothes are too small for him, which feels like a waste after all the effort he put in. He hangs the laundry on a silk thread, then decides to check on the Mandragoras. The creature, seizing the moment, grabs the shirt he just washed and wears it, eager to look like him. After declaring the shirt its own, it transforms into a small human girl. Meanwhile, he finds the Mandragora children struggling against the soil. Their leaves are wilting, and their roots look dried out, which is odd since he already cleared all the weeds. Curious, he digs around and discovers that the soil is still filled with worms and debris, making it difficult for the plants to grow properly. He realizes he should have tilled the soil from the start, and this oversight might have endangered the Mandragora kids. Wanting to make things right, he starts preparing a garden about the size of his house. Just then, the mechanical girl steps in front of him and greets him. He's a bit surprised to hear her speak at last. She asks whether the house belongs to him, and he replies that it does. Immediately, she concludes that he must be a native of the demon realm. Deciding to mess with her a little, he plays along and asks which tribe she's from. The question confuses her, but she tries to bluff her way through, claiming she comes from a very distant place across the waterfall, one that he wouldn't be able to find. He jokes, asking if that means she's from the coconut tribe, and without missing a beat, she nods proudly like it's the most obvious thing in the world. When he questions her about the shirt, she casually explains that in her tribe, whoever finds something owns it. It's just their way. He's entertained by her logic, lets her keep it, and asks what she's doing all the way out here. She responds that she was kicked out of her tribe and shyly asks if she can stay here with him, explaining that there are no bugs and there's an actual house, so overall it just seems safe. This while nervously twiddling her thumbs like she's rehearsing a puppy eye audition. Realizing she's just looking for a peaceful place to rest, he agrees, but only if she pulls her weight and helps out with the chores. Her eyes light up instantly, and she asks what he wants her to do, fully ready to dive into whatever mission he throws her way. He tells her they need to prepare a vegetable patch so the Mandragoras can have a proper home. Without hesitation, she grabs the stick, strikes a confident pose, and says she's strong enough for the job. Then she proceeds to absolutely obliterate the soil like it's made of sponge cake. Watching her effortlessly rip through the ground, he thinks to himself that she's either seriously bad at pretending to be normal or just has no idea how average kids function. He finally introduces himself and asks for her name. She pauses, clearly caught off guard since she doesn't have a name, and after drawing inspiration from the flowers she saw earlier, she declares that her name is Kim Nari. He can tell that she just copied it from Forsythia, but she's committed now and repeats it with a straight face. Soon the patch is ready, and Cheon even manages to set up a neat little stone fence around it. Seeing the Mandragora roots looking so cheerful makes him wish he'd done all this sooner. But then Kim suddenly gets all quiet. He notices the shift and asks why she's crying. She wipes her eyes and says the Mandragoras remind her of her friends, which makes him pause and wonder if something like friendship could even exist in the lab. Before he can ask more, a shrill, high-pitched screech cuts through the forest. He explains to her that it's just monsters hunting each other. Background music, really, in this kind of place. But Kim curls up in worry and tells him that she saw a little chick earlier before she found his place, and now she's afraid it might be in trouble. Cheon nods, and she adds that it looked like it had already been bitten. He tells her bluntly that it's probably going to get eaten soon. Watching her tremble, he figures she wants to save it, but can't bring herself to do it. She mutters that she can't save monsters, and it hits him that the brainwashing probably still has her locked up mentally, preventing her from making her own choices. So instead of telling her what to do, he offers a suggestion, phrased carefully, that the chick might survive if she goes back for it, and that's all it took to get her up and sprinting. Meanwhile in the woods, wasp-like abominations with 2 terrifying rows of sideways teeth are already attacking the injured chick. Just as one of them moves in to finish the job, Kim bursts in like a caffeinated tornado, kicks one of their heads clean off, saying that she'll save the chick no matter what. During the fight, she flashes back to her time in the lab. The other Chimera kids resented her for constantly winning first place in ranked combat trials. That meant the other kids became eligible for the scariest experiments with the highest failure rates. They snatched away her plush toy, shoved her to the ground, and told her she should let them win for once. They even said it would have been better if she didn't exist while they kicked her non-stop. She never understood it because she was just doing what she was told. Now, staring down the monsters, she screams at them to stop. She yells that it's wrong for a group to gang up on someone weaker, then swings her fist and sends the last wasp flying into another dimension. Back at the house, Cheon is casually feeding mana to the mandragora roots, probably feeling like a low-key plant dad, when Kim shows up again. She's running toward him, cradling the chick in her arms and yelling for help, panicked that it won't wake up. He tells her to slow down and take a breath. As he takes a closer look, something about the little fluff ball starts to feel strangely familiar. Kim keeps crying, panicking over whether the poor ball of fluff is about to die, while Cheon stays calm and offers to take a closer look. He reaches out and pours a bit of mana into the little fluff ball, then relaxes as he realizes the wound doesn't look fatal. Every monster's magic carries its own specific history, and even though this one shrank down and changed color, Cheon instantly knows it's the same creature he skinned back then. He strikes a Sherlock pose, trying to figure out why it shrank so much while Kim keeps asking if it's going to die. But Cheon reassures her that the thing's just malnourished and only shriveled up from starvation. He says he's already given it some mana, so if they just let it be, it should recover on its own. However, Kim suddenly spirals into a trauma flashback as her mind drags her back to that lab, to her ripped-up doll. With a shaky voice, she says they can't just leave it alone as it keeps flopping over like a sad pancake. She hugs it tight while pulling out the puppy eyes and asks if she can keep it, promising to take care of it properly. Cheon smiles and warns her it might grow too big to handle, but she fires back that she'll just feed it a tiny bit. He folds under the pressure of her cute attack and her eyes light up like it's the 4th of July, and he jokes that it could work as their guard dog, or rather a guard bird. Right then, the fluff ball opens its eyes and looks around in complete confusion, eventually locking onto Cheon as it recognizes him and lets out a low, menacing coo. Kim jumps at the sound, lifting it up with a squeal, saying it's finally talking while the bird just looks around, wondering what kind of hell it woke up in. She hugs it again as it flails helplessly while Cheon stands there awkwardly, not sure how to process this madness. The fluff ball yells out again and demands to be let go, which catches Cheon off guard that he can actually understand it. A few moments later, Kim wraps it up like a mummy and proudly announces that treatment is complete, then says she already picked a name for it. While the bird continues to squirm, she explains that since it acts like a pigeon, she's going to name it Coo, which Cheon finds sort of hilarious. The angry burb immediately starts going off at Kim for coming up with such a ridiculous name, but she obviously can't understand it, so she dumps a whole bucket of water on its head, saying it must be thirsty. Then she pauses in confusion and asks Cheon why the bird's now bloated like a water balloon. He tells her that's probably enough hydration for now, so she dashes off to grab food instead. Meanwhile, Cheon figures he should finally get a proper storage cabinet running since all their stuff's piling up, but when he tries to cut the wood, it just splits like cheap cardboard. He's confused since he made the table and chair just fine with the same method. The fluff ball is clearly done with his nonsense and points out that it's soft wood, so of course it doesn't work. Cheon realizes wood types matter and asks which color wood's the strongest. The bird instantly answers red wood, but then it freezes mid-sentence as reality crashes down that it just got understood. It stares at Cheon in horror, wondering if he's been able to hear it this whole time. Locking eyes, it wobbles to its feet and then activates its mind skill to try to read Cheon's mind. But nothing happens as telepathy fails. However, Cheon just looks around innocently and says he doesn't see any red trees nearby. He wonders if they grow in another region while the bird panics, realizing its mental powers just got blocked. Eventually, it drops the act and flat out asks Cheon if he can hear it. Cheon explains it's not really hearing, but the words just kind of show up in his brain. But then he flips it by asking how a monster can even understand human language like that. He figures the bird must be one of those super rare, intelligent monsters that somehow get born against all odds, but it's his first time seeing one up close. Cheon then asks point blank if it's the same bird from before, which the fluff confirms, saying it came back because it wanted to see him again. Since Cheon saved its life, it wanted to repay the favor if they ever met again. Not wasting any time, Cheon tells it to help him right now. That catches the burb off guard, but it sighs, takes a breath, and agrees to guide him to the red trees. Meanwhile, not far away, Kim's running like her life depends on it while dodging fireballs raining down behind her, yelling at whoever's attacking to back off. Tears stream down her face as she cries out that it's too hot, and suddenly a blast sends her crashing face first into the dirt. Her mind almost shuts down as she starts to panic, thinking the labs found her and she's done for. Just then, someone steps out of the fire who has long hair flowing dramatically like some third-rate anime extra. Looking at his tracker, he confirms she's the mechanical creature they were after. Charging up another attack, he mumbles that his life's on the line too and throws another fireball at Kim, who can only stare at it in defeat. But before it hits, our hero pulls the classic Chad move, stepping in front of her and effortlessly defusing the attack like he's swatting a fly. Ku immediately tells him the tree directions can wait as the girl's top priority right now. Cheon notices that Kim's terrified of fire and doesn't look mentally stable at all. He decides to put out the flames first and the fluffball agrees, adding that only a complete trash bag would go after a child. Rapunzel over there glares and roasts Cheon and calls him a caveman, then threatens to beat him down if he doesn't back off. Cheon fires back that this Rapunzel cosplayer talks way too much, which instantly sets him off. The guy screams that Cheon's ruining his dramatic moment and hurls a massive fireball at him. Cheon just raises a finger and pulls a Frieza move, blasting the attack away like it's a birthday candle. The explosion behind Rapunzel is massive, and he just stands there stunned while trying to process what just happened. Debris starts falling, but it's already too late as he gets buried under a pile of rubble. A few moments later, Cheon walks up to Kim and asks if she's okay, who then wipes her eyes and thanks him for putting all the flames out. He then gives her a solid piece of advice that the next time she's scared, she should punch the fear itself. As he walks toward Rapunzel, he grabs him by the hair and continues the pep talk, but suddenly stops mid-sentence. He stares at the wig in his hand in silence, and realizes that the guy underneath is suffering from full-blown shiny egghead syndrome. When Kim looks at the bald head, she bursts into laughter and says the guy does not look that scary anymore. Our boy glances at her and wonders how she ever got pushed around by someone so painfully low tier. The Phoenix Fluffball decides to step in and show him everything Kim went through by using his mental resonance ability. This ability is a power that lets him dive into someone's memories and share them with others. Inside that vision, he sees a mad scientist cackling like he just invented evil itself. The man walks toward Kim, who is semi-conscious, and realizes that she is slowly gaining self-awareness. With his fingers blazing like tiny torches, he starts hurting her in the name of a durability test. Watching that makes Cheon gently pat Kim's head and tell her that she did well. He decides to help her break the old trauma loop, one small step at a time. He looks at the little phoenix and asks what they should do with the egghead, and Kim's eyes light up with a mischievous idea. Together, they tie the poor man to a giant boulder and leave him hanging from a waterfall. Kim claims the water will put out his fire and make him less scary. When the guy wakes up, he literally looks confused and realizes this is definitely not what he signed up for. Kim crosses her arms and calls him a bad bald man again just for fun. Our boy sighs and tells her not to judge people by their looks, but she gives him a glare while holding a pot like a weapon. Gu asks what he is doing, and Cheon says he is fetching water for ramen. Kim instantly brightens up since Cheon's fish ramen is her absolute favorite. He teases her by asking if the coconut tribe eats fish ramen too. She pauses, then proudly declares that the coconut tribe absolutely loves it. Meanwhile, the bald man quietly assesses his situation and figures the person who captured him must be at least an A+ rank hunter, maybe higher. He thinks Cheon might even be hiding powers beyond that. As the group gathers ingredients for ramen, the bald man stares blankly at them, thinking that hanging someone from a waterfall and then eating noodles next to him feels just a little too hardcore. Kim bursts out of the water like a mini sea monster holding 3 fish beasts in her arms. Our hero takes one look at her haul and tells her to toss 2 back and keep only 1 because he is not running a seafood market here. The bald guy watches from the side, half horrified and half confused, wondering if tossing that fish monster into ramen might make it taste like straight-up ocean water. He also notices that they have dumped way too much water into the pot and starts doubting if these people even know what ramen is supposed to be. Before they start cooking chaos, he yells for them to stop and promises to handle the cooking if they let him loose. Soon enough, Baldy stands at their makeshift wooden table looking weirdly dramatic, like he is on a cooking show with imaginary stage lights shining on him. He mutters that some might think ramen is simple, but right now, his entire life depends on this single bowl as he glances at the hungry eyes locked onto him. He calls ramen a pure food and decides to rely on the most classic cooking method, mostly because he doesn't actually know any other way to cook. He pours water based on pure intuition, measuring for 3 portions, and once it boils, he drops in the noodles and soup base. He mentally calculates that it should take about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, but since he has no watch, he starts counting the seconds using his heartbeat. After what he guesses is around 200 beats, he lifts the noodles to let them hit the air for that perfect springy texture. When he finally finishes, he sighs that kimchi would have been perfect, but since he is stuck in the demon realm, this will do just fine. He presents the ramen proudly and they look stunned for a second before diving in. The very first bite sends them straight to flavor heaven, and Kim with the fluffball look genuinely betrayed that food could taste this good. Cheon, meanwhile, just focuses on inhaling his portion like a man on a mission. A little later, the group sits there stuffed to the brim while the bald man waits awkwardly for their verdict. Cheon looks at him and asks what he wants in return for serving such divine noodles, promising he will grant any request. The bald man wastes no time and drops to his knees, asking for Cheon's guidance and introducing himself as Nam Giseok. Our hero looks at the guy with mild confusion and asks what kind of guidance he's talking about. Nam explains that Cheon is easily the strongest person he has ever met, and figures that someone like him must have built this house to train long term. He claims he can cook all kinds of dishes, casually flexes fake chef credentials, and throws in that he once worked with his dad as a fry cook just to sound legit. Trying to look useful, Nam offers to travel between the human and demon realms to bring supplies, even promising to pay for lessons. Finally, he admits that his real goal is to become an A-class hunter. Naturally, our boy asks why he attacked Kim. Nam hesitates and asks if Cheon means the machine creature, but Cheon cuts him off and says she's from the coconut tribe. Nam instantly catches on and rolls with it, pretending he totally knew that. He says the reason for attacking her was personal, not for money or fame, and he didn't even care about the kid. He just wanted to pass the hunter promotion exam. Hearing that, Cheon crosses his arms and tells him to stand up for a sparring match. Before Nam can respond, Kim Nari steps forward and declares that she wants a rematch with the fire-flinging uncle. Nam smirks and warns her not to underestimate him, but Cheon asks if he can break a boulder made of adamantite, which is harder than diamond. Nam admits only A-class hunters can, and before he can blink, Kim smashes the rock and his confidence in one clean move. It turns out Nam was born with ridiculous talent and awakened his powers when he was just 8, while most kids were still trying to figure out multiplication tables. Since then, he trained like a possessed man and climbed the ranks so fast it made older hunters question their life choices. By the time he hit 20, he already stood as a solid B+ class hunter with a bright future ahead of him. He dreamed of becoming the greatest hunter alive, the kind whose name echoed across realms. But fate decided to play dirty. Around the same age most people start awakening, his hairline began to pack its bags and leave. Through his 20s, his thick hair turned into a sad memory, until he was left with a shiny head and a tragic hairline that looked like it had given up too. He tried every treatment known to humankind, but the doctors eventually told him to stop wasting his money and accept the truth. And just like that, the handsome prodigy with talent and charm lost everything he had built. Along with his hair went his confidence, and without that, his growth as a hunter came to a screeching halt. That is, until one random day, he caught a TV interview featuring Dr. Han, a scientist who had discovered a mysterious liquid metal in the demon realm. The old guy explained that he had accidentally spilled some of it on his head, and somehow grew a full mane of silky hair despite being 90. Nam nearly cried from hope. When the host asked if he'd make a cure for baldness, the doctor instead revealed that he had used the liquid to create a machine creature. Nam almost lost his mind, convinced that humanity needed a cure for baldness way more than a glorified toaster with legs. A few days later, he learned that the machine creature had escaped into the demon realm. Since the demon realm had no real laws, he chased after it, planning to catch it and pour the metal straight onto his bald head. Unfortunately, reality smacked him harder than expected when he got taken down by a kid. Our hero comments that Nam didn't even land a single hit. Cheon tells him to train harder or he'll never qualify as his sparring partner. Nam promises to do better, while our guy finishes a redwood shelf, thanking Gu for the ideas, and glances over at Nam. Despite getting smacked around all day, the guy looks calm, focused, and quietly summons a blazing scythe in his hand. Gu comments that Nam might be good with fire, but he is still getting schooled by a kid. Cheon calmly reminds him that Kim is no ordinary child, and as the fight continues, that fact becomes crystal clear. Nam charges forward and swings his blazing scythe, but Kim slips away at the last second by turning her body into liquid. Before the poor guy even processes what just happened, she reforms and kicks him square in the face, sending him flying until he crashes into a nearby cliff with a loud thud. Kim stands tall and declares that she is not afraid of fire anymore. Nam lies there, dazed, wondering if this is where his potential finally hits its ceiling. Yet somehow he pulls himself up again, reminding himself that he never quits no matter how bad it looks. He challenges her for another round but stops when he feels blood dripping from his nose. Cheon looks at him and asks how long he has been in the demon realm. Nam wipes his face and says it has been 9 days. Our hero tells him that if he stays any longer, the mana corruption will kill him, and Nam nods in understanding. Cheon then tells him that he has the potential to reach A-class level, which completely catches Nam off guard. The man admits he thought people who failed the hunter exam for over 3 years were hopeless, and he himself has been failing for 6. Even so, Cheon tells him not to give up, saying that his mana just has not fully matured yet. He advises him to purify it once he returns, and Nam thanks him respectfully, calling him brother. Cheon promises that he will raise him into an A-rank hunter someday. Before long, Nam stands near a portal preparing to leave. He asks if they want anything from the human world, and everyone immediately yells for ramen. Kim smiles and tells him to stay safe, and Nam replies that he will definitely beat her next time. Just before stepping through the portal, he turns and asks if anyone has seen his wig, but Cheon genuinely has no clue. After he leaves, Gu voices his concern about whether Nam can be trusted. Cheon asks what he means, and the little fluffball says that Nam could betray them and lead other hunters here. Cheon asks for his read on the guy, and Gu quietly confirms that everything Nam said was true. The whole exchange makes Cheon look forward to training Nam even more, and Kim finally asks if he can actually understand the fluffball. He nods, and casually mentions that he even built the storage shelf based on the bird's advice. Curious, he asks if the room looks neat now, and Kim replies that it was too dark to tell. Cheon takes the hint and quickly adds a few windows, letting warm sunlight pour in. Kim smiles, clearly liking the bright new look, which makes our boy wonder how to keep the room glowing even after nightfall. When Kim asks how they are supposed to get a light source, Cheon says they need glowstones, crystals that naturally shine in the dark. He plans to hang them across the ceiling to light up the place like a soft night sky. Gu starts sweating nervously and asks where exactly Cheon plans on getting those glowstones from. Cheon answers that they will have to visit the volcanic region. Gu immediately warns him that it is one of the most dangerous areas known to hunters, and quietly adds that it also happens to be his hometown. Cheon notices the way Gu's tone drops even while talking about home, and Kim picks up on it too. She turns to Cheon and asks what the bird said since he sounds upset. Cheon explains that Gu is worried about the idea of heading to the volcanic region, so he offers to go there alone. Kim immediately refuses to stay behind, saying that she is no longer afraid of fire and wants to go with him. Cheon turns to Gu, who sighs and says he will come along too since he has a few errands to handle there anyway. With that, the whole team is ready for their next adventure. As Cheon starts preparing their gear, the mandragora roots nearby can be seen playing in the fields with Nam's missing wig, completely unaware of its previous owner's misery. Far away, deep in the volcanic region, the ground rumbles as if something massive is stirring beneath the molten surface. An ominous creature lifts its head and lets out a haunting cry that echoes through the endless inferno. It is said there are 3 places in the demon realm where even the bravest hunters would never dare step foot, and the volcanic zone is one of them. First off, the ash floating in the air is so hot it can roast human skin, and the burning gas mixed in melts straight through the lungs. Yet there's Kim, casually dipping her feet in molten magma like it's a damn hot spring. The tiny phoenix just stares, completely lost for words. The little fluffball figures it must be normal for something that is clearly not human to handle heat like this. But what really bugs him is how our boy is perfectly fine. Cheon simply replies that he is a chimera hunter. He might look human now, but he somehow regenerated into this form after his transformation. Then he asks the phoenix if it's fine tagging along with them, and the little fluffball says that it's better than being all alone again. Watching the two chat about something that sounds deep, Kim puts and wants to join in on the conversation. That's when he remembers she once asked about his past. She simply laughs in response and says there's no need anymore, because she already knows he's a native of the demon realm just like her. Later, they start climbing the volcano, and Kim points out a thick cloud of smoke billowing from what looks like the peak. Up there, they finally find the luminous stones they came for. But down below, a massive flame toad is bawling its eyes out. Just then, Kim notices another one nearby. Master Gu quickly realizes what's going on. The male toad is grieving because the female died along the way. He adds that the eggs on her back will be cooked alive since she collapsed in a spot where the heat is too high. The floofball feels sad at the tragic fate. That's when our boy gets an idea. He tells Kim to wait for him and dives straight into the heart of the volcano crater. He lands right in front of the toad, who immediately glares at him with murderous intent. Without warning, the beast unleashes a massive blast of fire straight at him. However, he casually sprints straight through the scorching fire and points his finger at the toad, giving it a light boop on the nose. That simple tap makes the massive creature collapse instantly. Turns out, Cheon used the potent venom of a cobra, a toxin powerful enough to knock out even a poison-resistant flame toad, though it should only keep it unconscious for a few minutes at best. Watching him walk out of the flames completely unharmed feels unreal, so Kim asks if he is okay. He assures them he is perfectly fine since he also has flame toad cells in his body. There is literally nothing this guy was not injected with. Anyway, he notices that a few of the eggs have already been cooked, but he carefully makes sure the remaining ones will survive. By the time the daddy toad wakes up, he finds the eggs tied to his back and immediately moves to pay his respects to his fallen partner. After that, the creature leaps high into the air and lands beside Kim. It gives her a single longing glance, and she cheers up, convinced it was saying thank you. Cheon knows it was really looking at its partner, but he lets the little bird brain dream on. Later, Kim starts pulling out rocks nearly as big as her head. He warns her not to drop one on her foot. The phoenix is exhausted, slumping to the ground and feeling pathetic when he remembers how he used to toss boulders like toys back in the day. He He tells him he does not need to help and should just go meet his friends like he planned, but that instantly ticks the fluffball off. He flaps angrily and chirps that monsters do not have friends. He is not meeting them anyway, he just wants to leave behind some gifts. Our hero is surprised to learn that even intelligent monsters could feel lonely. Flustered, the tiny fluffball blurts out that the only reason he is doing this is because he regrets not saying a proper goodbye before leaving. Then, the Phoenix's tone changes. He gets serious and shares that while his intelligence let him understand the beauty of the world and its many creatures, it was also a curse. He had to watch the others mindlessly devour other creatures without a thought, and that made him feel alone. He felt like Albert Einstein stuck in a horde of brainless monkeys. To escape that crushing loneliness, he left the herd, and now, he does not really care if they survived or not, since he never felt truly close to them anyway. As the baby phoenix struggles to pull another stone from the rock wall, which suddenly pops free and smashes onto something below, Kim hears a loud cracking sound, only to see an egg on the ground cracked open. She worries that the phoenix killed it, but our hero explains that the shell is naturally tough. The baby inside has to keep pushing again and again until it becomes strong enough to break through on its own. Kim feels bad for the baby and suggests they take it home, but the tiny phoenix explodes, yelling that it is too dangerous if it hatches. Cheon remembers there is a nest that is perfect for it, so he decides they will take it along. Kim is absolutely thrilled to carry it all the way, while Gu warns them this is his first time seeing such a strange-looking egg. Hearing that, she leaves him completely speechless with the argument that it is his fault the egg cracked in the first place. Our boy assures the fluffball he will be there to keep them safe, and so they continue their mining operation. Later, when they are finally back, he is surprised to see the man with hair deficiency waiting for more. Nam excitedly offers to take the bag off his hands and proudly claims he is strong enough to carry it. As Cheon warns him it weighs a ton, the bag instantly drops to the ground. Frustrated, Nam wonders what exactly he is carrying that weighs so much. However, our boy notices the guy is crying a little, and gently asks him how he ended up with that bandage on his face. Thinking he got into a fight, our boy says he did not expect he is the kind of guy who always gets beat up. Feeling embarrassed, Nam quickly dashes away to get the food ready. Later, Kim curiously asks our hero what he is making by carving the luminescent stone, and he explains he wants to use it as a light bulb. His big brain idea simply amazes Kim, while the way he helped the flame toad shows his kind heart is huge as well. She says he is exactly like a dad now, but when he asks about her father from the coconut tribe, Kim decides to stop running her mouth. Meanwhile, somewhere nearby, the phoenix is chilling in the warm sunset heat when he suddenly gets ambushed by a tower of 3 menaces stacked on top of each other. The mandragora at the top bounces off the ones on the bottom and goes in for a special drill attack, but the tiny troublemaker simply bounces off the white Jigglypuff busy sunbathing. Later, Nam serves them a sweet potato recipe that is trending with the kids. He takes full pride in his cooking, knowing the ready-to-make recipe looks amazing for something this low effort. Kim and Gu are really impressed by it, but Cheon wants to get an answer about his question from earlier before they start eating. Nam does not want to share the story at first, but after a while, he spills that he got caught by some A-rankers on his way to apply at the Hunters Association. However, they told him to stop draining their aura by breathing the same oxygen as them. That made him angry, and he threw hands with them, and the rest is history. Nam admits he lost it when they asked if his self-respect also fell as fast as his hair. Then Cheon asks when the next test is coming. Our boy replies it will come in 60 days. Hearing that, he offers to give Nam personal coaching, and the bald guy is thrilled. However, his enthusiasm vanishes when he hears the first job is to take over washing the dishes from Kim. Next, he has to wash all of the volcanic dust from the shiny stones, leaving the poor guy gobsmacked. He asks about the special training, but our boy ruthlessly tells him to do it if he does not want to be a B-rank loser his whole life. With that, he leaves with Kim to go fishing while Nam forces himself to work hard. Because unlike what everyone believes, he is a man who got where he is through effort and perseverance. Being a Chad who never gives up till the end, he hauls the heavy bag into the forest. The scene shifts to the river, where Kim is annoyed that she cannot catch a single thing. She gets jealous seeing the bald guy reel in all the fish. Meanwhile, Nam yells at his master for help with the fish hungry for his flesh, since water-type monsters are his weakness. Cheon gets irritated by how useless he is and lectures him to simply encase his body with a magic barrier. But the bald guy complains that he still cannot wrap his mind around it, so Cheon tells him to hold his crystal. The moment he touches it, all of the strength leaves his arms, and they start trembling. Our hero explains that this is the effect of a rare kind of stone that contains raw condensed magic. He adds that Nam's body is just like that, full of magical energy, but he really sucks at using it. At that moment, he pokes the bald guy in the chest, and suddenly he can see the magic circulating inside his body. Our protagonist tells Nam to feel the magic flowing along those circuits, and surely enough, the guy's arms are soon wrapped in a silver aura. He then instructs Nam to pick up the stone again with mana flowing through his arms. With all the power he can muster, the bald guy activates his inner Saitama genes and deadlifts it over his head. Nam laughs like a maniac upon realizing his master's genius plan to do chores had a purpose after all. Our boy tells him to keep doing his job while running mana through his body, and the one-punch man from a thrift store agrees to do it gladly, with tears in his eyes. Later that night, the three are sleeping under the luminous stone's gentle light. Gu is having trouble sleeping because of his midday nap, but suddenly he gets alert upon seeing Kim quietly leaving in the middle of the night. He follows Kim outside and notices her looking down, upset that her only dress got dirty. She kneels by the stream and starts washing it carefully, hoping to make it clean again. The baby phoenix watches her quietly, and soon Cheon appears too, asking why she is washing clothes in the middle of the night. Gu scoffs at the question, and reminds him that she is a girl with no other clothes to change into. That makes Cheon pause, realizing that while he never cared much about what he wore, he might have overlooked the girl's needs. Kim finishes washing and steps out of the water proudly, only to find Gu and Cheon standing nearby. Not wanting to startle her, Cheon casually mentions that the night air feels nice, and says he is just out for a walk with the fluff ball. He asks if she is walking too, and she nods shyly. Cheon then asks her to stop for a moment, ties a rope belt around her waist, and tucks a few flowers into it. Kim's eyes brighten instantly, and she remarks that it looks like him. Cheon smiles and says that forsythia happens to be his favorite flower. A sudden rustle in the bushes makes Kim flinch, but Cheon assures her it is only a steel grasshopper. On their way back, he gently asks if she needs any clothes or shoes, though his tone feels more fatherly than casual. Kim looks confused and says she likes the outfit he gave her. The next morning, Cheon visits the human world near the District 13 slums, deciding it isn't right for Kim to wear a single set of clothes. The locals glance at him suspiciously, but he barely notices, thinking it would have been better to bring Kim along to pick what she likes. Then he realizes it might be too much for her to face the human realm after what she's been through. He chuckles to himself while looking for a clothing shop near the slums, when a young boy approaches and offers to take him there for 10,000 won, claiming he knows a cheap place. Cheon replies that he can pay after getting some change, which makes the boy assume he is another broke rookie who got robbed in the other realm. The boy asks if Cheon has money for clothes and tells him to follow, saying he usually takes payment first, but will make an exception this time. Cheon smiles as the kid introduces himself as Bongsu, so he gives his own name in return. But Bongsu just grins and says he'll call him Big Brother instead. As they walk, Cheon quietly observes how much the slums have changed over the years, though before he can think further, Bongsu suddenly asks if he awakened recently. Cheon raises an eyebrow and asks if he looks like it, and Bongsu explains that since he came out of a portal with no equipment, he assumed Cheon got robbed in the demon realm. He tries to comfort him, saying it happens to everyone sooner or later. Cheon chuckles and points out that Bongsu knows quite a lot for a kid. Offended, Bongsu insists he isn't a kid, claiming he is 17 and only looks small because of poor nutrition. As they continue walking, Cheon spots a group of shady thugs loitering nearby. Bongsu notices his glance and quickly warns him not to step into District 13. He says the place has a terrible reputation since the space gang from District 11 moved in. Even the police stopped showing up, and the area is now practically lawless. He adds that they are currently standing in District 12, which is the safer edge of the slums. Cheon listens silently and wonders if the orphanage in District 13 still stands after all this time. Elsewhere, a small clothes shop displays a buy one get one free sign, but the owner looks exhausted. She regrets opening a store in a place where most people can't even afford to raise kids, even though half her stock is children's clothing. She sighs, debating if she should change her business entirely, when the door suddenly creaks open. Bongsu enters first and cheerfully greets her as Madam Park. She immediately yells that she isn't married and to stop calling her that. He laughs it off and explains that Cheon needs clothes. While our hero heads straight to browse through the racks, Park calls Bongsu over and scolds him for constantly dragging broke hunters into her shop, complaining that she already has a mountain of unpaid tabs waiting to be cleared. The kid gets his cheeks pulled hard and tries to defend himself, saying he couldn't have known whether the man had money or not. The shop owner points out that Cheon doesn't exactly look like someone carrying cash. Bongsu argues that at least the guy is handsome and reminds her that she was the one who told him to bring in pitiful hunters, who reminded her of her late brother. Park fires back that she only said that once or twice and warns that if this continues, they will both end up on the streets. Bongsu snaps that he never asked for her help in the first place, but Park sighs like an exhausted caretaker and tells him to go wash up, promising to give him some money afterward. Just then, Cheon cuts in and calmly says he wants to buy clothes. He takes out a check worth 10 million won and admits that it's all the money he has. The sight leaves both Park and Bongsu stunned. Park immediately switches to formal mode while Bong-soo rushes to pull out a chair and sets a table with cookies and a drink for their newfound VIP guest. As Bong-soo ties a napkin around Cheon's neck, Park excitedly explains that they sell everything from adult fashion to children's wear. Cheon simply asks for preschool girls' clothes, a few outfits for himself, and some shoes. Park brightens up instantly since kids' clothing happens to be her specialty and starts showing him the latest spring and summer collection, including lace, casual wear, and endless shades of pink. Bong-soo stands beside him massaging his shoulders like an overenthusiastic assistant. At checkout, Park can barely hide her joy, having sold over 100 items and emptied most of her stock. She asks if he wants the clothes shipped, but Cheon says he will carry them himself. He then hands Bong-soo a suit and 100,000 won, saying he still owes him one more favor. Outside, Bong-soo feels uneasy as he leads Cheon toward the inn he mentioned earlier. When Cheon goes inside, Bong's thoughts spiral. He wonders how someone could hand him money and clothes so easily. Fearing it might be a trap, he recalls how traffickers often lure kids with kindness, yet another part of him wonders if Cheon might actually be good-hearted, like Park. When Cheon steps out, he says the inn owner seems decent and the place looks clean. He hands Bong-soo a key and tells him he won't have to sleep on the streets anymore. He adds that he paid a full year's rent, including meals, and turns to leave. Bong-soo mutters nervously if this is how kidnappings start, and Cheon reminds him that he was the one who led him there in the first place. As the portal lights up behind him, Bong-soo asks what the catch is, since they barely know each other, and yet Cheon gave him so much. Cheon answers that the boy reminded him of his own past, saying he once lived the same way. He tells him to take care, and the portal carries him back to the demon realm. Nam looks relieved when Cheon returns, while Kim runs up asking where he disappeared to without telling anyone. Cheon smiles and says he went to buy her a gift, which makes her beam with excitement. Gu seems shocked by the mountain of clothes he brought home, while Nam sulks that none of it is for him. Kim squeals over how cute the dresses look, and Cheon gently tells her to try on whichever she likes. As everyone admires the new clothes, the egg inside the log cabin begins to stir. As Cheon folds the new clothes, he feels oddly relaxed by the simple task. Kim suddenly bursts out of the room wearing a silk dress and a ribbon hat, looking like a tiny princess. Cheon asks if it is her favorite, and she shyly replies that she wants to try on a few more. Her attempt at wearing suspender pants ends in failure, so she slips into one of Cheon's shirts and pretends to be a ghost. She continues trying on different outfits with such energy that both Gu and Cheon can't help but feel amused watching her. Eventually, Kim picks her favorite outfit, because the chick printed on the hoodie reminds her of Gu. Cheon tells her to put the rest of the clothes away, and she nods obediently. The Phoenix then asks where Cheon plans to keep all the clothes, since they are running out of space. Cheon replies that he will build a dressing room with a walk-in closet to fix the problem. Gu quickly realizes that means cutting down more trees, but Cheon grins, saying he already has an apprentice for all the labor. He calls out to Nam, saying it's time for special hard training. Nam charges in with full enthusiasm and brings along Cheon's leather suit, calling it training gear. Cheon looks confused, so Nam explains that the suit is coated with some kind of poison that almost killed him when he touched it. He admits that it's unbelievable how Cheon has been wearing the same thing daily like it's nothing. Cheon thinks to himself that he just never bothered to clean it properly, then casually tells Nam to wear it instead. Nam freezes, completely shocked, while Cheon instructs him to put it on and chop some wood. Gu offers to guide him to which trees need cutting. Nam protests, saying the outfit could kill him, but before the argument can continue, Kim suddenly yells that the egg is moving. Everyone rushes over, and Cheon tells them that it is about to hatch. Nam, looking nervous, asks if the creature will be disaster class, while Kim confidently says it will probably be something cute. While Kim and Nam keep arguing, the egg suddenly cracks and a small eye peeks through the shell. Both of them react in completely opposite ways as the creature inside starts to emerge. Out crawls a monster with sharp claws, a scaled body, and a snapping tongue. But contrary to Nam's fears, the creature turns out to be an oddly adorable chick-snake hybrid that tilts its head and chirps like a bird. Nam stands frozen in disbelief, while Kim jumps with excitement. Without warning, the little creature launches itself straight at Nam's face, and he lets out a panicked yell that echoes through the cabin. Later, out in the fields, Gu taps Nam's head with a stick to make him haul wood faster, though Nam begins to wonder if he is just hallucinating at this point. The poison seeping through the suit makes every breath feel heavier, and he silently admires how Cheon used to wear the same outfit without flinching. Inside the house, Cheon finishes folding the clothes when Kim rushes in, excitedly announcing that the monster is eating bread peacefully and behaves well. Cheon smiles and says the creature must recognize who saved it. They start thinking of a name and finally decide on Sa, inspired by its snake-like nature. Just as they settle on the name, the little monster leaps out of Kim's hands, and she runs after it. Gu watches and says he's glad to see them getting along, while Cheon turns to ask if the phoenix recognizes the species since he has never seen one before. Gu admits he doesn't, but warns Cheon to keep an eye on the mandragora roots. When Cheon asks why, Gu explains that creatures from the volcanic region love to eat plant-type monsters because they are rare there, and especially target those with strong demonic energy. As the small snake slithers toward the mandragora field, Gu reveals that it might be their natural predator. Everyone gathers to watch as tension builds between the two sides. Kim offers to step in and stop them, but Cheon shakes his head and says that in the demon realm, monsters need to establish dominance on their own. Since both are still young, he decides it's safe to let them settle it naturally. The battle begins as Sasa lunges with its claws toward the smallest mandragora, but the larger one swiftly steps in and blocks the strike. The mandragoras form a triangle stance, waiting for the next move. Before long, the second root monster rushes in for a counterattack, but its hit is stopped by Sasa's tail. Little Sasa grins with confidence, though Gu quietly warns that it shouldn't lower its guard so soon. Right after, the smallest mandragora jumps forward from behind and punches Sasa's cheek with its tiny fist. The blow is light but enough to make Sasa wail and retreat in tears. Kim quickly runs to comfort the poor creature and calm it down. Cheon announces the mandragora roots as the winners, and both Nam and Gu agree the fight was quite a show. Cheon tells everyone to return to work, and Gu resumes smacking Nam on his shiny head. Far away, across a vast sea, an eagle chimera flies swiftly over the waves as if in a hurry. Back at the house, Gu keeps pushing Nam to pull the timber with more effort while Kim and Sasa coat the wood with slime to make it waterproof. Cheon finishes folding the laundry and takes a moment to look around, satisfied that the long day's work is finally wrapping up. After 2 sleepless days, Nam sighs with relief and tosses away the poisoned leather shirt that nearly drove him mad. He examines the newly built changing room, checking every corner to see if it matches the plan he followed, and wonders if it turned out well enough. Before he can doubt himself any further, Cheon tells him that he did better than expected. Kim notices a faint floral scent filling the room, and soon everyone picks up on it too. The pleasant fragrance feels calming, so she asks why it smells like flowers. Cheon explains that Gu chose an aromatic type of wood that would naturally make the clothes smell nice. Kim smiles, noticing how even the mandragora roots and Sasa seem to enjoy the scent. Nam blinks at the name Sasa, realizing he never actually heard it before. Cheon mentions that the name could always be changed if someone comes up with a better one. Nam immediately suggests calling it Snake Chick, while Kim proposes Piak. Finally, Cheon turns to Gu for his opinion, and the bird confidently suggests naming it the Grand Footsteps in the Drawer. Curious, Cheon asks what Gu's real name is, and the phoenix replies that he was once called Rocky Mountain Horseshoe. Cheon stares blankly for a moment before giving up on the naming chaos entirely, and declares that the creature will remain Sa, and no one bothers to object. Gu then asks what their next task will be. Cheon explains that he has been thinking about a concern that didn't bother him when he lived alone. He believes they should build a fence around the house to prevent intruders from getting close. Nam looks doubtful, saying he can't imagine anyone willingly approaching such a creepy place. Still, Cheon insists it is better to be cautious since even S-rank monsters or hunters could appear without warning. Gu nods thoughtfully and suggests using a material filled with demonic energy. He mentions that the coastal region has a type of yellow quartz that is denser than black stone. If they use that luminous stone as the base for the fence, he explains, it will not only be strong, but will also glow softly at night, making their home look warm like a campsite. Kim jumps with excitement the moment she hears they might be going to the beach, but Nam instantly loses his composure. The thought of the coastal region alone horrifies him, and before he can come up with an excuse, a sudden nosebleed saves him at the perfect moment. Acting weak, he puts on a faint damsel in distress act in front of Cheon, and claims he needs to head to the human realm to drain his demonic energy. Cheon allows it, but tells him to look after the mandragora roots in case they return late. Before leaving, Nam warns Cheon about the coastal region, saying even A-rank hunters and those below avoid the place since it would mean walking to their death. Cheon looks surprised, so Nam explains that the entire area is now ruled by 2 disaster-class monsters. These creatures were once chimera hunters created in a lab, with faces like birds but the bodies of humans. The thought of it makes even Cheon pause for a moment. Meanwhile, at the coastal region, a group of hunters is already on a mission to capture one of those same chimeras. One of them charges up a tracker shot and hurls it at the flying beast, landing a direct hit. Yet the creature doesn't even flinch and keeps soaring ahead as if nothing happened. Thinking it is retreating, the hunters relax, calling the whole disaster-class story an exaggeration. One of them even suggests chasing it to finish the job. Their leader, however, stops them, saying they should wait for the monster to return to its lair. He explains that there are 2 chimeras in the region, and tracking both is safer than chasing one blindly. One of the younger hunters wonders aloud how the chimeras are still alive after 60 years, or how their bodies remain human-like despite becoming monsters. The captain responds that they are failed experiments and remnants of an old project meant to advance humanity. Though chimeras were once seen as a great success, the failed ones, he says, must be destroyed. Suddenly, one of the hunters spots the creature turning sharply in the sky, speeding back toward them faster than sound. The captain's eyes widen and he shouts for everyone to raise a barrier immediately. With one powerful flap of its wings, the chimera shatters the hunter's barrier like glass, sending shards flying and knocking them off their feet. They realize too late that they picked the wrong fight. The captain looks up in horror and shouts for them to stop, but before the next strike lands, Kim appears with a metal barrier and blocks the attack. The chimera pauses midair, startled to see another of its kind, and both descend cautiously. Kim insists that the sparrow uncle was bullying people, though Cheon quietly notes it looks the other way around. One of the injured hunters calls his captain, saying a machine creature has appeared, which confuses the captain, so the guy shows him his tracker device. Cheon instantly understands what's happening, remembering Kim still carries a tracker from the human realm. He turns to the bird chimera and asks if it remembers him, reminding it that they once shared a room and asking what number it was. The creature's eyes widen as Cheon tells it that if one lives long enough, he gets to see everything. While the chimera struggles to recall, the hunters whisper among themselves, planning to retreat. Cheon warns that letting them escape will only cause more trouble for both sides, and that it's better to finish things now. Then, a faint memory resurfaces for the chimera. The scent coming from Cheon brings back an image of the lab where they once lay side by side, the same sharp odor of the chimera cell fusion drug from the TDA experiments. Realization strikes, and the creature calls him by his old designation, number 17. The scene shifts back to the past, when Bird Boy was running through the woods with his sister on his back. At that time, his sister began showing one of the side effects from the experiment. That made him question whether taking her with him had really been the right choice. Maybe leaving her behind in that cursed lab might have been smarter after all. When his sister weakly mentions his wings are really warm, he bursts into tears, disappointed in his own helplessness. His wings are not big enough to fly both of them away, so he tells her to hang in there just a little longer. Just as he silently hopes someone would show up to help, he suddenly comes face to face with our boy, cluelessly pointing a flashlight right at him. When Bird Boy demands to know what Cheon is doing there, he calmly replies that he came to warn him, since he overheard the higher-ups saying it was time to trash him. Birdhead thinks he sounds weird, but he gives him a reality check. He tells him that both he and his sister will be blown up by the detonation curse in 3 days. He suggests leaving his sister behind since she is not on the disposal list, meaning she can keep taking suppressant drugs to live longer. However, Bird Boy snaps back, saying someone like him who never experienced the side effects can never understand. He remembers how bad it got one time, so bad that his sister begged him to escape, saying she would rather live one more normal day outside than rot inside that living hell. As he realizes that the quality of life matters far more than its length, his wings suddenly expand to full size. With raw determination blazing in his eyes, he tells our boy to stop yapping and start fighting, but Cheon just stares at him with those cold, dead eyes before suddenly summoning a gate. Birdhead is shocked to learn that a mere test subject like him even owns a gate key. He then looks him dead in the eye and offers him 2 possibilities. His human cells would either get corrupted by demon energy once he entered the demon realm, or his demon cells could absorb it and awaken instead. He believed it was a decent gamble since the detonator would not explode if he crossed into the demon realm. But Birdhead still wondered if surviving there was even possible. In an ideal world, you need to protect both your body and mind with a magic barrier. That is not something children like them can pull off. Still, Birdhead took him up on the offer and decided he would risk it for the biscuit. On his way out, however, he felt bad that they did not even know each other's names despite being roommates for so long. He introduced himself as Yu Byom, and our boy shared his name in return. Back in the present, our hero asks the hunter about his name, but they look completely clueless. When he asks why he was even there, they just stare back at him blankly like cavemen, saying they have no idea. He then sends them through the portal, and Yu instantly guesses right that he used his oblivion flower cells, which erase the target's memory of the last 3 hours. He then calls Yu by name, and the guy looks honored that he remembered. Kim asks if Mr. Sparrow is supposed to be his friend, and our boy says he is from the Sparrow tribe. Bro then asks Kim if he is right about the Sparrow and Coconut tribes being good friends, and she instantly nods in agreement. While Yu stares in utter confusion, Kim suddenly apologizes for thinking he was a bad guy. After that, they head to Yu's home, which is ironically just a massive nest with a roof on top. There, the gang has a blast trying out a unique clam dish that tastes unlike anything they have eaten before. Kim gets really excited for more, but Yu humbly apologizes since he does not have the ingredients to make another batch. The little goblin, however, is undeterred and runs off to gladly catch double the number of clams he needs. Now that they are finally alone, Yu reveals he only managed to survive in the demon realm thanks to his immortality cells. Wasting no time, he then asks our boy if he ever thought about taking revenge on the lab. Cheon admits he has thought about it every now and then, but he is not in any rush since life is actually going pretty well. When he throws the question back at you, the guy says he still has the detonation curse inside him, meaning he will eventually blow up like a firework. Putting that aside, our boy also notices Yu can use his wings quite well, and then asks if he can turn his head back to human form. Yu admits he can, but he refuses to do it because his sister's face was changed for life, and she would feel awful if he went back to normal while she could not. After all that, our boy asks if he knows he will only survive for another month at best. Yu is shocked that he knows that, and Birdhead flashes back to his time after he left Earth. He trained endlessly to develop enough mana to survive the demonic energy. Things were fine for a while when his magic and the demon realm's energy stayed in balance with each other. But one day, the energy went rampant inside his sister and severely damaged her mana hole. While trying to control the damage, he ended up permanently damaging his own core too. Since then, he has just been getting by, while his sister has been surviving on sleeping fruit, spending most of her life in slumber to slow the progression. That is when Cheon remembers that mandragora roots can be used to make a medicine capable of healing any mana hole, no matter how damaged it is. Elsewhere, in a dimly lit room, fruit is scattered across the floor, while Birdhead's sister sits silently all by herself. At first, she trembles quietly in pain, but soon the demon energy surges out of control, completely overtaking her body as she loses herself to it. Back with the boys, Yu is stunned to hear that he and his sister can actually be saved from their incurable condition. Our guy reveals that after Yu left, he studied alchemy and learned how to heal damage to the mana hole using water boiled with mandragora roots. It is explained that while the roots make up only a small part of the plant, they contain nearly all of its life force, making them incredibly potent. Cheon never imagined the plants he grew just for fun would turn out to be this valuable. He even offers to brew the medicine himself, since Yu cannot travel to the human world to find an alchemist. In exchange, he asks the guy to look after the 2 airheads he will be leaving behind. Before departing, he asks Yu what he can pay with, and since the guy has no money, he offers a backpack stuffed to the brim with things hunters usually carry. With that, our boy returns to Earth and asks his lifelong companion, Bong-Su, to help him find a skilled alchemist. Bong-Su remembers that a new branch opened in the slums about a year ago. As the kid talks about it, Cheon notices sandbags tied to his arms, and Bong-Su proudly explains that he uses them to train his body. The boy boldly admits he wants to become strong like his big brother one day, a total boss who can dive into the demon realm with nothing but his fists. Outside the place, Bong-Su explains that the new manager there is famous for his excellent work. But when no one shows up, they spot the manager himself, pacing around and looking stressed out about missing his loan payment. Bong-Su instantly figures out that the poor guy is being harassed by loan sharks. The kid sighs, saying that taking loans in the slums is just a necessary part of any business. The manager was once a well-respected man, having worked at the city branch for over 20 years with solid results. But then, out of nowhere, he was demoted and dumped into the slums for reasons no one could explain. According to Bong-Su, his former boss was the greediest bastard alive, famous for pocketing funds meant to support the slums and other districts. He suspects the manager got kicked out simply for daring to report the scumbag's crimes. Anyway, when the droopy-looking manager spots Bong-Su, his face instantly lights up. The kid quickly tells him that his big brother is searching for an alchemist. The manager, whose aura alone makes it obvious he's a pro, pats Bong-Su on the head and cheerfully invites both of them inside. Meanwhile, somewhere nearby, another alchemist is bored out of his mind because his boss is useless and business has been dead for weeks. His grumbling comes to an abrupt stop when the manager walks in with Cheon and orders the assistant manager to get them drinks. But our boy skips all the small talk and goes straight to the point. He says the man should be able to brew purified mana water from mandragora roots since he's an A-rank alchemist. The manager is stunned that Cheon knows his rank and admits, with clear regret, that he doesn't have such high-grade materials in stock. That is when our boy pulls out a mandragora root radiating so much demonic energy that it feels alive. Both alchemists are floored by its freshness, like it was plucked minutes ago. As for payment, Cheon casually drops the finest materials from the coastal region, making their jaws hit the floor. After the pair is finished fanboying over the rare goods, he asks if it's enough. The manager laughs, saying it's way more than enough, and goes to get them appraised. Looking around the room, Cheon spots another mandragora root floating lifeless in a jar of water. The manager claims it is long dead, or so he thought. Our boy pours a tiny stream of his energy inside, and the shriveled root suddenly twitches. The manager's eyes nearly pop out of their sockets. In frustration, the manager insists he poured tons of mana into that mandragora before, but it never reacted like that. Just then, the door slams open, and his former boss barges in like he owns the place. Without wasting a second, the man starts mocking the shabby, empty office. The man taunts that he heard about some high-quality items showing up here. Grinding his teeth, Manager Kim instantly realizes that his spineless assistant must have sold him out. The intruder, Gi Jong-un, smugly introduces himself as the Gold City branch head and tells Cheon that he'll be handsomely rewarded for bringing such valuable materials. His arrogant grin and grating laugh make Cheon want to shoot him in the face. Putting that aside, he notices the man's surname and asks if he's related to the Nobel Prize winner, Bok Deok-an. Hearing that, Gi Jong bursts out laughing again and proudly declares himself the great man's grandson. But for him, that only confirms his suspicion that corruption runs deep in their family's bloodline. His mind flashes back to the time Bok Deok whipped test subjects half to death, treating them like they were less than human. The rage bubbling inside him finally erupts. A massive surge of aura explodes from his body, shaking the floor and forcing Gi Jong to his knees. He glares down at him and spits, asking if it's some family tradition to crush people under their power and steal whatever they want. Trembling in denial, Gi Jong demands to know what kind of nonsense he's talking about. With eyes blazing and killing intent flooding the room, Cheon warns him to choose his next words very carefully. In a cold tone, he asks if the TDA lab is still under operation. Hearing the name, Gi Jong frowns and insists he has never even heard of such a place. Cheon narrows his eyes and repeats the question, asking if he truly knows nothing about his grandfather's chimera experimentation facility. But Gi Jong scoffs and calls it all slander, claiming his grandfather conducted research meant to benefit humanity for generations. He proudly adds that the man even donated his entire fortune to the victims of the Gate incident, which is why he received a Nobel Prize. That earns a dark grin from Cheon. He mumbles that maybe the old psycho really did have a change of heart before he died. Still, he says it is a pity that the bastard went out so early for a hunter. Then, he wonders out loud if the side effects of falling out the window over the gate might have helped with that. Gi Jong's eyes widen in horror, because that incident was supposed to be completely unknown to the public. Of course Cheon knows. He was the one who pushed the old man off in the first place. The decrepit fossil threatened to throw the Chimera children into a portal, so he decided to let Bok Deok experience it firsthand. With that said, he orders Gi Jong to investigate whatever remains of his grandfather's lab, and to have a report ready by the time he returns next. He still cannot believe the irony of running into Bok Deok's grandson after all these years. He had only been 9 when the mentally deranged scientist had him kidnapped. After being transformed into a mindless weapon, all he could think about was completing orders, and time slipped away before he even realized it. For all he knows, the lab might be operating under a completely new name now. Just then, Manager Kim returns carrying 2 bottles filled with shimmering green purified mana water. Cheon is genuinely impressed by how quickly the A-rank professional worked. With his humble and honest attitude, the manager carefully calculates all the material costs. As a reward, our hero offers him a private contract, where he will keep supplying rare ingredients and the alchemist will handle all the brewing. His generous offer completely blows the chubby uncle away. The man bursts into tears of joy when he realizes he can finally buy back his building and pay off all the loans hanging over his head. When Cheon asks why he is suddenly crying, the manager opens up about his rough past in the slums. His parents had taken a huge loan so he could study, even though they could barely afford food. He worked endlessly to repay it, but no matter what job he took, it was never enough. Our boy assures him that from now on, he will always have work waiting for him, then decides to head back, hoping nothing bad happened while he was gone. But life rarely goes the way we want it to. Back in the other world, Yu's sister finally loses control. Yu refuses to fight back, trying to reason with her and beg her to return to her senses. Gripping his face, she hurls him across the room like a bowling ball. For a moment, he lies motionless, thinking this might be the end for him. But as soon as he sees Kim and Gu over him, he remembers the promise he made to protect them. Strength floods back into his body, and he jumps into action once again. He flies head-on at his sister, determined to end her suffering and wishing her happiness in her next life. Before the siblings connect though, my guy Crash lands his flying jellyfish right between them, breaking up the fight in dramatic fashion. Birdman is stunned for a moment, but that quickly turns into rage when he realizes his best friend just ran over his little sister with his ride. Putting that aside for now, he demands to know if he had any luck with the potion. With a confident grin, our hero holds up the 2 glowing green vials, just as promised. Later that night, the group settles down after a hearty dinner. Yu's sister, Jia, slowly wakes up beside Kim and wonders if she is dreaming, or if this is the afterlife. Turning her head, she spots her brother and a stranger sitting by the campfire. When Cheon glances her way, she panics, unsure who he is or why she is surrounded by unfamiliar faces. Birdhead turns around with a warm smile and tells her to check her mana hole, and surely enough, it is fully repaired and stronger than ever before. She also realizes that her face is human again. When Jia turns to her brother to ask who the strangers are, Yu teasingly asks if she really cannot tell when the boy she wanted to see for so long is standing right in front of her. When the truth finally hits her, she completely breaks down, asking if he really is number 17. Yu confirms it, saying that he saved their lives yet again. Meanwhile, our boy pays no mind to their emotional moment and asks if they are out of red moss again. Ignoring his usual cold personality, Jia slowly removes her mask for the first time in years and sincerely thanks him from the bottom of her heart. Just then, Kim becomes utterly captivated by the golden deep-sea fairies glowing across the surface of the water. Jia explains that if you follow them home after sunrise, you can find yellow quartz near their nests. That sudden reminder makes our cold and calculating hero realize he completely forgot that finding that mineral was the main reason he came here in the first place. Back in the human world, the director's subordinates report that several hunters failed to recover the machine creature. What they do know is that it is currently hiding somewhere within the coastal region. The director is puzzled by that, so his men explain that all the A-rank hunters who went there returned without any memories of the place. However, their trackers still managed to detect the target. Then the director's phone vibrates, and on the other end is a furious Gi Jong-un. Without wasting a second, he demands to know if the director has ever heard of a TDA lab. The director outright refuses to hear anything about a lab like that. So Gi-jung starts breaking down every rotten detail he knows, but director Mayong cuts him off fast. He claims Professor Bakhtiak taught him to always follow honest research and serve humanity. He swears on the old man's name that he has not forgotten that lesson, then says he is busy and ends the call. Right after hanging up, the guy starts panicking. He cannot figure out how the grandson of that useless professor even knows about the lab when every single record was erased. Before he can think too much, a scientist barges into the office with a briefcase shaking with excitement. He reports that the experiment to fuse mandragora with mercury was a massive success. They finally created the liquid metal mandragora he wanted. The moment the director sees it, the creep gets tingles down his spine. He is thrilled because mandragora forms strong bonds by nature, and liquid metal has the same property. Combining both traits into a chimera means he finally has a creature that can track down his most prized mechanical creation, Kim. So he orders his subordinate to raise the bounty for A-rank hunters, and swears to make sure his best creation is found no matter what. Meanwhile, Yu is chilling on the beach near Cheon's place. Last night, our boy invited Yu and his sister to stay with him for a while. He even promises he has a professional cook waiting, but Yu is more shocked that he actually lives in the demon realm now. Our boy assures him it is a pretty relaxed place once you get used to the atmosphere. Yu then asks why he chose to stay there when he could always return to Earth. Bro just looks at him and asks if he seriously wants to go back to that cursed world. Birdhead admits life on Earth was never good for him or his sister, but he still wants to see if things have changed. Hearing that, our boy tells him it might be possible, because he has an idea that could finally cure their curse. He explains that there is a seriously talented alchemist he met back on Earth. Manager Kim might just be able to find a cure if they give him some time to study their curse. After a moment of silence, Yu suddenly starts crying. He asks Cheon why he is always so kind to him and his sister when they have never done anything for him. Our boy tells him he helps them because he thinks it might help him find an answer of his own. He spent years wondering if there is anything more important in life than just trying to survive. Back to Yu on the beach, Jia flies out of the ocean holding 2 giant ropes in her hands. She throws one toward her brother and tells him to pull with everything he has. He pulls with all his strength, but even then he struggles under the crazy weight. Turns out he is dragging a huge net stuffed with an absurd amount of quartz crystals. He cannot believe our boy mined all of that in a single day. Meanwhile, Cheon feels refreshed, since he has not taken a proper swim in a long time. On the other hand, Kim is itching to dive again because the sea fairy's home at the bottom was unbelievably beautiful. Putting that aside, Yu asks how they are even going to carry all that quartz back to the forest. While our boy tries to come up with a plan, a lone parrot vulture suddenly flies over his head. He finds that strange, because those birds normally fly in big flocks. Kim grins because its feathers look gorgeous, but Jia quickly tells her she will not be smiling if she sees one up close. Vulture parrots are monstrous 4-meter beasts with awful tempers, and hunters usually run for their lives the moment they spot one. However, the only thing our boy sees is a convenient Amazon delivery truck cruising in the sky. Back at his place, Nam is training hard, and he feels like his magic capacity is growing pretty well. At this rate, he might actually reach A rank sooner than he imagined. Right as he thinks that, he sees a half-dead looking mandragora collapse behind him. He assumes the angry little guy is upset at him, but it is actually because it is being bullied by a group of 3 men in black outfits. Suddenly, one of them recognizes Nam from his glowing bright noggin and wonders if he is now a homeless man living in the mountains. Nam quickly covers his head out of embarrassment. He is shocked that the same troublemakers who bullied him during the exam somehow managed to find him here. Before he can react though, the Mandragora gang steps in front of him like a knight in shining fiber. The hunters lose their minds when they see it, because these creatures cost more than their weight in gold. The first guy walks up to them and tries to treat them like he is taming some friendly pet. That makes Nam furious, and he realizes he has to do something, since the trio is extremely important to his master. But it turns out he does not need to lift a finger, because the chubby mandragora simply lifts its tiny leg. Suddenly, all three idiots are sent flying so hard that they wonder if there was an earthquake in confusion. Meanwhile, our boy is soaring through the sky on his newly tamed vulture parrot. But he wonders if the bird is flying slowly because of the weight, or because he got too rough with the taming. Back with Nam, he nearly loses his mind when he spots the ones who caused the explosion. He thinks that Gia and her brother are apocalypse-class monsters living near the coastal area. When he remembers that the others also went there, he gets seriously worried since none of them returned. He even considers forming a temporary alliance with the guys in black. But before that happens, Gia gets right in his face and casually asks if he is Cheon's famous chef. Bro freaks out hard that a monster can actually speak. But the moment he hears the word chef, he quickly asks her if she knows his master. Yu proudly claims they are basically best buds. Putting that aside, when Yu asks if the shady trio are guests, Nam gets a naughty little idea. He snitches to what he thinks are apocalypse-class beings that the trio are dastardly thieves stealing his master's property. It is at this exact moment that they realize they messed up. An hour goes by, and our boy finally returns to his humble abode with a big sack full of shiny quartz. He notices the vulture parrot is almost half dead from hauling so much weight for miles, so he tells the poor fella to rest after a job well done. The fluffball, who is literally a bird, rolls off the vulture's back too, because somehow it got motion sickness from flying too high. Seeing the shady trio of A-rankers tied to a tree like hostages, our boy wonders what happened while he was gone. Yu tells him the story about the mandragora thieves, but he suspects there is something deeper happening. Meanwhile, Gia asks Kim to give her a review of her beautiful, humble abode. While the girls go sightseeing, Yu explains that these guys are from the Research Institute. They belong to the same organization hunting down Kim. Our boy recognizes it as the same lab Nam stole the tracker from. He realizes that more hunters will keep coming, because Kim has some kind of tracking device that is active even inside the demon realm. Still, he is confused about how they discovered his home when he and Kim were all the way out at the coast. After that, Yu holds out a metallic mandragora in his hand, and explains it is probably because of this tiny shiny troublemaker. Our boy can hardly believe that someone actually managed to fuse fluid metal with a living mandragora just to track Kim down. Yu adds that they only came down here because their own mandragoras pointed the way, and their next destination would have been the coastal area. Hearing that, Cheon realizes he seriously needs to build some kind of security system before things get worse. Just then, the mandragora trio comes running toward him. They demand he hand over their brother, even if he is basically an enemy. As he gives them the shriveled up little guy, they immediately yell at him to take out the other one as well. He is shocked that they can somehow sense that he has a wrinkly old mandragora hidden in his pocket. He remembers that manager Kim gave it to him because he believed Cheon could take good care of it. The old man literally shed real tears over losing that wrinkly vegetable. Anyways, the mandragoras quickly dig up tiny holes for their beaten up brethren. The moment the injured pair settles inside, the two cheer up like nothing happened, and he feels relieved they are not fighting over territory this time. With that said, right as he starts wondering where Nam might be, Gia suddenly calls out to him from above. She has a bald dude desperately trying to reunite with his master in one hand, and a hyped up Kim flailing in the other. Naturally, our boy holds Nam far away when the guy tries to hug him with tears running down his face. When he asks Gia why Nam looks so homeless, she explains he was getting eaten alive by piranhas in the lake like an idiot. The guy swears that he only did that to gather fine ingredients to prepare something special for his master's guests. Nam asks everyone to wait for a short while so he can cook up something special. But when he notices a vulture parrot casually chilling next to him, he gets another dramatic heat attack on the spot. Our hero tells him to save the performance for later and focus on getting the food ready already. Somewhere nearby, Kim finds the shiny mandragora quietly minding its own business. She is instantly attracted to the shiny object like a curious baby, so she reaches out to touch it. The moment they make contact, something strange happens. Later, the bird siblings are completely blown away by Nam's specialty dish, a steaming plate of kimchi curry rice. The guy spent hours working on the fine details to craft a masterpiece that even Chef Ramsay can't. Our gang digs into the delicious food, but Cheon notices that Kim is barely eating anything at all. When he asks her what happened, she replies that she is not feeling well. Instead, she leaves because she wants to sleep for a bit, but his sharp mind instantly catches on that she must be feeling terrible about the liquid metal mandragora. At sunset, the mandragora resting in the dirt suddenly senses something strange. Right after our boy suggests that they start building his fence to burn a few calories, he also detects the same thing. Out of nowhere, a giant gate tears open behind his house. He sees Kim standing right in front of it. She is sure that if she stays with him any longer, she will only bring more danger to him. That is why she decides to go back to where she belongs. With the metallic mandragora wrapped in her arms, she says one final goodbye and runs into the portal without looking back. However, he grabs her at the last second and tells her that his home is where she truly belongs. Hearing that, Kim bawls her eyes out again, and Cheon learns the hard way that he should never let kids out of his sight. A few minutes later, the little munchkin is already slurping down hot ramen like nothing dramatic happened at all. She is really happy with the food. But Gia makes it clear that Big Sister will not let her off easy next time she even thinks about running away. Slurps the ramen so quickly that her tongue starts burning like crazy. So Nam gives her a medicine his mom always used, which is so popular that Yu remembers they also used it back at the lab. After she chugs a few of the bottles down, she sits quietly with Cheon at the table. She apologizes for worrying him so much like that, but he assures her she does not have anything to say sorry for, because the ones who deserve the blame are her creators, not her. With that in mind, he gets serious and asks her to tell him about her friends from the Coconut Tribe. After all, he does not want to hurt anyone who was actually kind to her when he raids the research institute. Kim tells him everything that she knows, and he does not even bother asking about the exact location, because Nam already knows it well enough. In the meantime, the bald guy gets ready to take revenge on the A-rank pieces of trash. But when he removes the gag, the A-ranker instantly tries to bribe him if he lets them escape. Pretty Boy goes on about how he is rolling in cash and can pay him a huge amount, even promising to shut up about everything that happened. However, Nam humbles the arrogant moron by showing the black card only the top 1% can own. The hairless clown laughs, because he never expected his sweet revenge would walk right to him. The A-ranker tries to pretend he was just messing around, but Nam shows no mercy. He pulls out 3 shiny balls made from raw oblivion herbs. He never tested himself either how painful the allergic reaction is, but Nam believes it just might be the cure to their trash personalities, and he stuffs the balls right in their faces. The next morning, Kim is happily playing around with the fluff ball. Yu asks him if he is really going to raid the lab. Our boy agrees, and asks him to take care of Kim while he heads out with Nam and Master Gu. Right then, the bald guy shows up with a giant backpack and a huge smile on his face. The reason he is excited, of course, is because he will finally meet a top-tier alchemist. That person might just have the cure to his lifelong disease. Seeing that, Gia points out they are way too obvious and should at least cover their faces. Nam is not interested at first, but his opinion changes instantly when he sees the absolute queen hiding under the mask. Unfortunately for him, she gives her mask to our boy even though it does not even fit him all that well. That is the exact moment when he realizes he fell in love at first sight. Like an absolute Chad, he tells her that he is not the type to mess around, and he means something when he says it. With zero hesitation, he asks her what kind of guy is her type. Yu and Cheon grab some popcorn because the plot is getting spicy. Gia does not like to mess around either, so she thinks hard and deep for a long second. After a dramatic suspense, she says that he would probably have to be very flamboyant, good at dancing, and have lots of thick feathers. That hits Nam's insecurity so hard that he begs our boy to take him to the alchemist as soon as possible. Back on Earth, all of the civilians are seriously concerned when they see such a large return portal appear. A vulture parrot coming out all of a sudden makes the civilians panic so hard that they rush to report the case immediately. When Nam points out that everyone is scared, our boy simply says he does not need to walk when he can fly. The guy then asks him where they are even going, but he calmly reminds Nam that he is the one who will be guiding them. Flying through the big blue sky on a big blue fly, he creatively names his parrot Blue. At the research institute, the scientists report that all the hunters came back with strange amnesia. The director is absolutely pissed when they add that they lost the metal mandragora, who was his only shot at tracking Kim down. Without his latest, he cannot secure funding from his investors unless he shows. Just then, one of the scientists shows him a small note attached to a hunter's gear. When the director reads the "see you soon" message, he starts yelling at his terrified employees. At that moment, the window behind him shatters, and our boy crash lands straight into the office. He learns the hard way that even a single missing tail feather really makes it difficult to control his ride. The scene shifts to the past, when Nam told him about the institute's location, but he was still worried because the lab is the most powerful one in the entire nation. Even the current headlines are discussing how the institute created a living mechanical creature. Nam is terrified that they are committing a major crime against such a huge organization. However, his sensei's calm demeanor gives him a bit of confidence. That is, until he notices one of the tail feathers is missing. Our boy explains it has been that way since the moment he found Blue. Apparently, that missing feather is the reason why Blue was being attacked and eventually forced out of his community. Ever since he saved him from all the other vultures, Blue has been strangely happy. After flying for some time, they finally spot the research institute deep in the mountains. He orders Blue to go full speed without turning. The parrot kicks into gear and flies straight at the lab like a fearless fighter jet. Now in the meeting room, the scientists wonder if Elon started World War III or something. Once the dust settles, one of them gets a close-up view of Blue, and it scares the hell out of him. Then all of them get wrapped in threads. When Nam asks why they did not enter from the front door, he replies that he came directly to the top floor because this is where the director stays. The scientists panic and question who he is, so he states he is the guardian of Kim Nari. At that moment, our boy detects a strange dark mana flowing through the air, and he realizes there is someone incredibly dangerous here. The scene shifts to the Hunter Association Tower, where President Lee warns his bratty grandson to lock in already. The kid argues he is doing pretty good compared to his grandpa, who never got above C rank his whole life. He is already at the same rank in his 20s. The useless grandson asks his grandpa to just give him more pocket money already. His old man regrets spoiling him, because the boy refuses to inherit his position even when he is over 80. Back in his childhood, he dreamed of saving others like the heroic hunters on TV. But now, all those heroes refuse to do any mission that even sounds dangerous. They only work when it gives them good money. Because of that, the Chimera were made so they would not have to endanger their own lives. But now those Chimera-producing labs are charging outrageous amounts. So the regions that cannot afford to pay them are completely vulnerable. The president believes that it is the association's job to make sure people's lives don't depend on if they can pay or not. That is why the president's seat is the most important position. But all the hunters who are trying to succeed him are greedy scumbags. If the association falls under the wrong person's control, they could create a hunter mafia never seen before. The old man's final wish is for his talented grandson to take over. He never had the power to change anything, being a weak C rank his whole life. Hearing that, his grandson suddenly snaps. But before he can say anything, a man urgently reports that there is a vulture parrot flying around in the slums. When the president asks who is taking care of it, the man says that no hunter is taking the job. That really grinds his gears, because they all know a job in the slums will not pay anything. The president orders him to inform all the Chimera labs and declares he will do it with his own hands. Surprisingly, his grandson Bayek says he wants to come along as well. Back at the lab, Cheon notices the ominous mana is coming from a white-haired scientist. He shows no mercy, instantly slicing up the danger with his threads. However, the scientist's body suddenly turns into liquid metal. Nam stares in horror at the Chimera pretending to be a human. Even the man's underlings are shocked because they never realized he was actually a Chimera. Director Myong's body morphs into a creepy monster. He becomes furious at our boy turning his precious lab into a complete mess. While the director swipes his metallic claws at him, he notices the liquid metal looks almost just like Kim's. However, there is no mechanical part to it, which means he tested everything on his own body. At that moment, Master Gu tells him that he can now read Director Myong's mind. Cheon suddenly sees sharp flashes of the twisted man's memories. In the deepest, darkest corners of his labs, the director injected kids with all kinds of unstable things. He did it all to go beyond anything a human has ever reached, even surpassing his sociopathic master Bokdeok An. After he learns that the bastard killed countless children for his own gain, our hero becomes furious and crushes his face without hesitation. The mangled director simply replies that the kids in the slums are worth even less than sewer rats. Being part of his experiments should be an honor for them. Not realizing Cheon can hear every thought with Gu's mind reading, the mad scientist thinks he can liquefy and easily escape. But our boy makes sure he realizes his crimes in the Chamber of Pain. A powerful wave of blue mana rolls up the slab of liquid metal and packs him neatly into something like a Pokeball. After that, he turns to the other scientists, asking if they would like to speak up or get sealed in his balls as well. Later, our fluffy phoenix tells him Director Myong's full story. The man was a loyal student of Bokdeok until he got too greedy. He suddenly left the original lab with all the data on biological experiments so he could become a chimera that never gets old. What concerns Cheon, though, is that Myong's memories had absolutely nothing on the TDA lab. Still, he is glad that he at least got rid of the device that Myong's institute was using to track Kim. He already told Nam and Blue to take proper care of the other scientists. So now, the only thing left to deal with is the dirty director's worst experiments. He blasts through the thick steel gates with a kick. Inside, he finds countless cells filled with dead chimeras. Gu cannot believe the psychopath actually preserved the children's bodies for research use. Looking at the children reminds Cheon of the time when the TDA lab tortured him. In the end, they always made sure he stayed alive, because he was their golden cash cow. He decides the children deserve to finally rest in peace. Suddenly, a little fox-like creature comes out because it smells something familiar. He instantly recognizes she is one of Kim's friends. So he gently asks the little thing if it knows anything about mechanical creatures. The fox gets excited when she realizes they know about Kim, and quickly asks if she is alright. When he tells her that she is finally enjoying life in the demon realm with him, her eyes fill up with warm tears. She says she has been waiting for Kim to return this whole time, and she is relieved that he is still alive. Right then, 2 more of Kim's hidden friends shuffle out from behind the door. They are also followed by 4 squirrels he never even heard about. When he asks if there are any others left, Foxy explains that everyone else was either sold off or quietly eliminated. After hearing that, he opens a portal to the demon realm, giving the surviving chimeras a place where they can live freely and safely. Soon after that, President Lee and his grandson arrive at the research institute. They freeze up when they realize the Chimera's actual target was the laboratory instead of the nearby slums. As smoke rises from the wreckage, Beck spots the vulture parrot circling above. Then he notices something even stranger, because a masked guy is mounted on its back like he's playing modded Minecraft. Meanwhile, our boy calmly asks Nam if he handled all the researchers. His loyal puppy confirms that he moved every last one of them to a secured location. Nam then asks why they did not simply wipe the witnesses' memories, but he says he left that untouched on purpose. After that, he asks who the two people watching from below are, and Nam explains that they are the association's President Lee and his grandson. He thinks they probably rushed over because of the wave of urgent reports. Cheon remembers the president's familiar name, so he decides to mess with him. Out of nowhere, he tosses down a Pokeball for the old man to catch. When the president recognizes it, he is shocked since it's been a long time since he saw such a powerful mana seal. These seals cannot be broken unless the breaker has more magic power than the creator. As he wonders what kind of monster could seal a powerhouse like Director Mayong, his subordinates confirm that no one died in the chaos. However, they keep receiving bizarre reports. Apparently, the director's own crew claims he was an imposter, a chimera pretending to be human. They continue explaining that the intruder even saved all the researchers after burning down the chimera lab. Listening to this, the director silently wonders if the intruder is the same boy he assumed died long ago. High in the clouds, our hero decides that they will return straight to the demon realm without any more delays. Even though Nam wants to get his smooth head checked out properly, it is tough to stay on Earth with the association tracking them down. Later that night, Manager Kim is jolted awake by a loud noise outside his door. He steps out, wondering who could be visiting at that hour. There, he finds a druggie on the ground with a black mask half covering his face. The horror scene almost scares the soul out of the poor man, but Cheon's familiar voice calms him down. The frightened man asks why he is suddenly visiting in the middle of the night. With a warm and reassuring smile, our boy says it's time for him to see the demon realm. Back at his humble abode, Kim and the bird siblings start working on a plan to build a fence using all the quartz and light crystals lying around. The little kid is blown away when Yu makes a lamp by slapping a hollow quartz on top of a fat light crystal. A few moments later, a portal opens behind them, and Kim immediately thinks Cheon has returned. Instead, all the chimeras from the research institute tumble out of the portal and pile up on top of each other like laundry. The bird siblings look confused and wonder why our boy would send over such weak chimeras. But Kim quickly runs away and shyly hides behind the house. Meanwhile, Sasa stands proudly in front of the newcomers, looking like he is trying to assert dominance. However, the tiny tree chimera ignores the loud idiot and waddles over to the vegetable garden with rich soil. Then, a chaotic fight breaks out when the garden's original owners catch the intruder stepping on their territory. Soon after, our boy also returns to the demon realm with Nam and Manager Kim. The manager is instantly impressed by the complex structures Cheon managed to build inside the supposedly primitive realm. The fat man starts nerding over the incredible architecture our boy designed with almost no resources. But Cheon is more focused on Kim, who is hiding behind a tree instead of catching up with her old friends. He runs off, telling Nam and the manager not to move while he handles the situation. After that, he returns Jia's mask to her and asks why fiber warfare is happening inside his vegetable garden. She explains that the tiny tree sapling wants some of the fertile soil, and the Mandragoras started a turf war to defend their land. When neither side budges an inch, the Ant-Man rushes in to help settle the fight. The sapling uses its vine to launch its buddy straight at the chubby Mandragora. Unfortunately, things do not go even close to the way they planned. The chubby Mandragora smoothly sidesteps at the last second, so the ant flies past and bonks its head straight into the metal Mandragora instead. Seeing that disaster unfold, the tiny sapling quietly picks up its poor buddy and returns to its group in crushing defeat. Our hero quickly notices that the fox is missing. It turns out she saw Kim slipping away earlier and followed after her. Sitting on the other side of the tree, she tells Kim that she will not move an inch until her apology is accepted. You see, Kim completely gave up on fighting in any matches when she was at the research lab. The curse that made orders absolute didn't work on her, so the scientists couldn't make her fight no matter what they did. Every single time she was sent for a ranking match, she always lost after getting beat up on purpose. Seeing that, the scientists theorized she must have been born with a gentle personality. Even though she is a combat chimera, she refuses to fight back. However, Director Myung did not worry at all. If it was just a personality issue, then he could fix that with ease. The evil bastard placed a few of the weakest ones into her room so they could become her closest friends. Then he used the curse to force those same friends to fight her. He believed there is nothing more painful than being betrayed by the very friends you trust the most. After breaking her down to pieces, he tried to brainwash her, saying they loyal friends do not exist. He told her she would die, unless she broke them before they had the chance to break her. At that moment, something deep inside her snapped. She suddenly took off with tears in her eyes. She chose to run away rather than hurting her friends. Every scientist in the lab tried to stop her, but no one could stop her from escaping straight through the portal. Shifting back to the present, Kim is now in her original form. Foxy is shocked to see her crying. She asks why Kim is crying when she is the one who should have been upset. Kim hugs her tightly and says she missed her and the others for a very long time. Meanwhile, the three grown-ups have been quietly watching, stalking them from behind a tree this whole time. Cheon is relieved they are back on good terms again. When he returns to the house though, he finds the two smooth brains took the order way too seriously. After that, he introduces the manager as his personal A-rank alchemist. The old man makes a solid introduction, but then he blurts out the first thing that pops into his mind. Unk politely asks the bird siblings if he can have some of their feathers, for research purposes of course. The scene then shifts to Bong-soo, who is meeting up with the cute clothes shop girl. He swears to her that the bluebird monster hoax was real and how the association came running to take care of it. Right as he tells her the weather is getting pretty cold, she serves him delicious steamed sweet potatoes. He instantly cheers up when he takes a bite of the warm goodness. She notices that he looks a little paler than usual. Sure enough, he admits that he feels a little sick and his body is in pain after every workout. When he mentions that even painkillers do not work, she realizes that it suits the signs of awakening sickness. She believes he is cold because of the fever, and the body pain is a classic sign. Plus, he is in his late teens, which is when awakenings usually begin. Hearing that, the kid instantly refuses because there is no way a bumpkin like him can become a hunter. She fires back that background does not matter for hunters, and points out his growth has been quite fast lately. She forcibly hands him some money, and orders him to use it for a bus to the association in the nearby city. There, he should take the test to confirm his potential. The tsundere shyly says there is no telling that he might become a legendary hunter someday. Bong-soo is really happy to hear her say that, so he thanks the nice lady. The lady who is seriously sensitive about her age rages because she is still a young girl, but he calls her lady again and promises to pay her big favor back someday. Meanwhile, in the demon realm, the new chimeras help the bird siblings build the quartz crystal fence. While Yu is not really tired by the labor because he is a chimera, Nam refuses to stop helping even though he is half asleep. Soon, they all gather with Cheon to finish the job while manager Kim figures out a way to fix Blue's tail feathers. When Nam says he wanted to get his head checked first, our boy unintentionally threatens him to go home if he cannot wait, which makes the bald boy go quiet real fast. Then he sternly reminds the Chimera gang that no one gets to live for free unless they contribute something. Later, Kim accompanies him on his way to finish a part of the fence. After he tells her what he plans on doing, he asks her back if she is on good terms with her friends now. The girl instantly freezes up, before shyly asking if he really went to the coconut tribe to save her friends. He realizes that she is onto the fact that he figured out who she really is. Then she shyly starts to reveal that she did not actually come from the coconut tribe. But Cheon tells her no worries because no one will ever chase after her in the future, because he handled everything. Suddenly he surprises her by saying they could make this home the coconut tribe. They still need a proper name for the growing family, and it has to be a cute one, just like her personality. In the dark, starry night lit up by the glowing quartz fence, she thanks him with tears in her eyes for everything he has done. After that, she walks back with blazing confidence. Yu and the others watch closely, surprised that the talk went surprisingly smooth. Nam lets him know that the fence is finally complete and looking amazing. Kim is thrilled that the house is sparkling and cute. Foxy missed her a lot, so she surprises her with a cuddly hug and started licking her like an ice cream. Blue also takes inspiration and comes crashing straight at Cheon to give him a big hug. It turns out the feathers grew back completely. The manager finally manages to catch up and says it really did not take too long for the treatment to work. Apparently, the red moss our boy gave him has wildly powerful healing abilities. Seeing the majestic feathers on Blue's tail, Nam's hope for the day he finally grows hair skyrockets instantly. Not wanting to miss a better chance, he smoothly sneaks up to the manager. When he asks the man if he might have some experience with hair loss, the man is genuinely surprised he knew about that. The man tells Bald Boy he has actually been working on a hair growth serum for the last 10 years straight. Apparently, that is a disease all alchemists are trying desperately to cure, so the manager promises he will contact Nam first, since he seriously needs it right now. Nam's shiny bald head instantly hits the ground. He bows deeply to the man whose hands truly hold his chances of getting a girl. The manager then tells the bird siblings he discovered something new from their own feathers too. He tries to carefully explain that magic circles are very hard to crack, and the curse on them is so complex he has never seen anything like it before. However, he believes that a very large number of mandragora fruit might help him completely crack the case. Hearing that, our boy asks him if that is the red fruit that grows naturally on mandragoras. He also explains that they are extremely tough to get, because you can only pick them fresh if the mandragora lets you pick them. Plus, they should make little huts because the little creatures like to hide in dark holes to stay safe from predators. Manager Kim is amazed by his absolutely priceless knowledge about the species. Cheon admits he has a bit of history with the little guys, something he never really talked about before. He remembers the time when he was sent on a mission. They wanted to test if he could survive 10 whole days in the demon realm all by himself. But the mission felt more like a casual trip to a snowy mountain to someone like him. He even decided he should hike all the way to the top just for fun and a little challenge. On his way, however, he suddenly heard a rustling sound in the bushes nearby. When he looked inside, he saw an injured little mandragora struggling to move.